Chapter 144 Beyond Bold. Chapter 144 Beyond Bold. Since the 10 finalists have been decided, the rest will be eliminated. Not even looking at the pill of the alchemist who finished in close after Vicious Pill King, Xiaoya shouted. This caused an uproar, one born from puzzlement as one protested, weren't there supposed to be 20? Why only 10? Snapping a cold gaze at the speaker, Xiaoya flatly explained, I never said there will be 20. It just so happened there were 20 top cauldrons prepared. Her words sent them pondering, making them realize their false preconceived notion at the start of the meeting. The judge never once mentioned how many would enter the finals and just started the competition, but, as there were 20 top spots standing out from the rest, they simply took it for granted, realizing their own mistakes. The alchemists sighed in regret, especially the second batch of 10. They falsely assumed there was plenty of time and didn't give their all, wasting their chances. None of them considered that this was set on purpose by the Drifting Flowers edifice. An alchemist who did not strive to reach the top was unworthy to qualify unless, of course, he was like Zhuofan, with plenty of skills in their arsenal. After all, it was a universal practice to bend the rules and morals in any profession and let the strong ones in wait. The alchemist who finished after Vicious Pill King shouted his dissent. He was intimidated by Vicious Pill King but soon calmed in his heart as he declared his malcontent. Judge, my pill is a top 5th grade pill while Elder Yan's was a low 5th grade pill. We also finished close together. Reason dictates that the 10th spot ought to be mine. Quiet! It was Zhuofan who got ahead of Xiaoya. His cold eyes stared pitilessly. Are you deaf? This round was based on speed, not quality. This is what you get when you can't even understand what is required of you. What face can you expect when you bark like a dog? Forget about who was first or last. If this old guy finished at the same time as you, he'd still be the one to qualify since he shouted first. All the alchemists were startled. Vicious Pill King and Grandmaster Song are in a life and death battle. Grandmaster Song would no doubt be jumping for joy if he could kick the old goat out. The why is Grandmaster Song speaking up for his opponent? They were confused, and so too the people on the terrace. Even Vicious Pill King eyed Zhuofan with a stare. Tao Danyang watched worriedly from the side. Why is this brat defending him when he was working so hard to kick him out before? Chu Qingqing was also clueless, her angelic eyes fixed on his figure under everyone's rapt attention. Zhuofan snorted and took on a smug attitude in his berating. I know exactly what you're thinking. Indeed, yours truly wanted to kick this old guy out. But he used blood essence to refine pills, twice, cutting away almost half of his life to finally win his spot. And let's not mention braving through my schemes. But even so, I will still win the Pill King round. In the meantime, I will not have this old coot fail from meaningless prattle. That would be a disgrace to me as an alchemist. Silence as the grave. Then, thunderous applause dominated the air, with worshipping eyes directed at Zhuofan. Now this is the air of a true scholar. Open, frank, and of outstanding bearing. Even Vicious Pill King started to feel a thread of respect for Zhuofan. He inched his withered hands and slowly clapped Tao Danyang's side, but felt quite prideful. This brat is sinister and cruel when is needed and frank when the circumstances demand it. This is a true man, a husband worthy of that girl. Chu Qingqing's heart exploded with love. Xiao Dandan had long been thrilled that she was trembling. It was impossible for her not to adore such a dauntless man. Xie Tianyang and the rest nodded in admiration. Zhuofan was despicable, true, unscrupulous, also true, but was not nasty. Only evil, and his evil nature was embraced by his domineering character, making him an antihero. This man is a man of ambition, similar to myself. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun breathed out in lament. The others looked at him, then at each other in silence. Finally, it was Lin Zitian who spoke. Second young master, you took a liking to the kid and want to employ him? Absolutely not. He shook his hand. Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with killing intent. A mountain is too small for two tigers. With his ambition, he will not deign to serve under another. He must be dealt with swiftly, whether I get the Bodhi root or not. He must meet his end today. Huangpu Qingyun clenched his fist, his manner of unprecedented seriousness. A premonition struck me just now. He must die here, today, or Regent Estate will have an archenemy. The hearts of his men shuddered. Regent Estate was the strongest of the houses and wouldn't show fear even when matched against the other 6. Why is it that the second young master evaluates this third-rate clan kid so highly? No matter how great his talent and skills were, he hadn't the power to fight against the Regent Estate. What they didn't realize was that Regent Estate's men were most skilled in grasping the heart of the people. If Huangpu Qingyun came to such a clear-cut decision regarding the kid's fate, it spoke of the possible threat Zhuofan could grow into and endanger Regent Estate. The men turned to watch Zhuofan with deep gazes. Only Lin Zitian, however, was uncaring as he flattered, "Ha ha ha, second young master is overthinking. A third-rate clan brat, regardless if he knows some ancient refining skill or if he was even a 7th-grade alchemist, this is only limited to alchemy. He can't." Huangpu Qingyun's piercing stare snapped at him. Lin Zitian stopped with a shiver. "I will say it again. This kid must die today." Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with absolute conviction. The others had never seen him so determined. They could only nod, as each's eyes flashed with their own resolution. In the arena, the discontent alchemist cupped his hand in shame. Grandmaster Song is indeed correct. I never had the right to enter the 10th spot. Please do forgive my careless words. Having seen Grandmaster Song's imposing manner, I feel ashamed of myself. The man gave a deep bow to Zhuofan and left with a lowered head. This earned more reverence from the crowd. The man was ranked 13th in the Empire in alchemy, known to nitpick on anything and everything. Yet the same man submitted willingly. Grandmaster Song is of impeccable moral standing. Zhuofan would have cracked up if he heard them. Moral was the least fitting trait when it came to him. It was more accurate to call him of ruthless standing, beating others into submission with power rather than reason. Xiaoya bowed in appreciation to Zhuofan. She had first despised him, then was shocked by him, and now had come to respect him, with something else mixed within. Zhuofan had no experience in this field to pick up these subtle signals. However, Chu Qingqing was one who always followed her heart. Thus, she noticed these signals immediately and could only shake her head. An outstanding husband is not always a good thing. Too many eyes will be on him. To all grandmasters that have entered the Pill King round, congratulations. You have a chance of getting Drifting Flowers Edifice's most precious treasure, the 9th-grade spirit item, Bodhi root. Xiaoya smiled. I asked that everyone move to their respective spots. The last 8 alchemists started to move in order. Their ability in alchemy was clear-cut as to who was strong and who was weak. Only Vicious Pill King fell from the 2nd to the 10th spot under Zhuofan's relentless harassment. Hey, old guy, give up. Tao Danyang felt quite thrilled to have finally got ahead of that old coot for once. Snickering, Vicious Pill King glared at the hag and snorted, "What are you so excited about? It wasn't you who did it." Vicious Pill King looked at Zhuofan, now filled with a staunch desire to fight. He hadn't felt like this in decades. "Brat, I have been unequaled in alchemy all my life. But today, ha ha ha. I have traveled the continent unchecked for decades, and not once have I found one worthy of admiration. But today, ha ha ha." Laughing, Vicious Pill King slowly walked to his new spot, yet his voice was still clear. "Brat, we will have a true battle today and see who shall be the best alchemist in the Empire." Shock pervaded the crowd. The arrogant Vicious Pill King, who saw no one as his equal, not even Regent Estate's leader, just acknowledged someone. On the surface, he might seem like he cared about the Regent Estate. However, deep inside he still couldn't care less about them. He was the first alchemist in the Empire, and had arrogance to spare. However, this time, he met his match. 3 times they duked, 3 times he failed. He never suffered such a wretched defeat in his life. Yet, now, he was far from angry, but jealous instead. It was as if he was back in his prime, filled with the thirst for battle. Tao Danyang was startled, getting the feeling he was looking at the vicious pill king of old. She smiled and said to Zhuofan, "Kid, the old coot already took you as his opponent. This is his approval of you." "Tch, since when does yours truly need his approval?" Zhuofan's tone was filled with coldness. "Old coot, you lost close to half of your life in the last round. Keep this up in the next one and you will fall. My life is my own. Today, I will win against you." Vicious Pill King shook his hand and spoke resolutely, raising an eyebrow. Zhuofan started re-evaluating the old coot. Vicious Pill King no longer had the cruel and sinister manner from before, but the bearing of a true grandmaster of alchemy. Chapter 145 Pill King. Chapter 145 Pill King. "Master, are you all right? Be careful of your wounds." After changing his spot, Yen Fu rushed to Vicious Pill King and looked at him in worry. Vicious Pill King, however, didn't even acknowledge his presence. Bam! Vicious Pill King slapped his face out of the blue, sending him sprawling 3 meters away as he barked, "Humph, you dare finish before your master? Did you not see how close I was to not entering the finals? Forgive me, master. I was wrong. I would have never considered it possible for that punk to." Yen Fu crawled sullenly to Vicious Pill King, but the latter's words got stuck in his throat. Squinting, Vicious Pill King spoke icily, "What were you trying to say? That the punk played me to such a miserable state?" "Never." Yen Fu lowered his head, sweating bullets, shaking his head. Vicious Pill King said, "What, never? Yes, I was indeed played like a fiddle. Be it in alchemy or schemes, I failed on both accounts. Is there anything wrong with saying it? Even the brat admitted he could not kick me out. His plan failed. So what could I, in my sorry state, not dare to admit?" Yen Fu was shocked. He looked up in fright as he muttered, "Master, why have you changed?" "I have not changed, only returned." Taking a deep breath, Vicious Pill King gazed afar with eager eyes. It was unclear if he was speaking to himself or his disciple. An alchemist's mind should be set only alchemy. Success and failure are commonplace. It does not warrant covering it up. Vicious Pill King looked at Yen Fu. "Disciple, do you know why I hit you? Because I dared to finish before master and shamed you." Before Yen Fu could finish, Vicious Pill King shook his head and laughed. "Ha ha ha, over that small matter? I only blame you for taking a spot and almost making me lose the chance to fight a worthy opponent. I never had such an opportunity in all my life." Laughing again, Vicious Pill King ignored his disciple and went to the 10th spot. Yen Fu was startled and turned his head to look at his master. He felt his master was unlike his usual self. His master used to emphasize results above all else. Successful refining was rewarded, while failure, punishment. Under such strict guidance, he had managed to surpass Luijian's rank and become one of the top 5 alchemists in the empire now. His master no longer cared about results, but to have a fair match with the kid. If the kid had dared threaten Vicious Pill King's place of being the first alchemist in the empire from the start, he would have been long dealt with a dead man. Even with neat alchemy skill wouldn't have been able to challenge him. Strange, is it because the brat helped my master out just now? Yen Fu's heart was filled with questions. He had no way of knowing. It was simply a hero respecting another hero. When formidable individuals fought, they may employ devious schemes, a dog-eat-dog battle, but a win was absolute and victory, brilliant. Zhuofan did not manage to kick out the Vicious Pill King and openly admit his loss. It is fine if he failed this time. After all, there was still the next round, which Zhuofan intended to dominate, but from the gossip flying around about Vicious Pill King, it would be impossible for Zhuofan. Naturally, Zhuofan did not take their words to heart. He knew that these people could be used, but never relied upon. After all, the sneaking and sinister way of a dowager had always been the weapons of the weak, and the scorn of the strong vicious Pill King felt the same and now had his spirit aroused. He wanted to pit against Zhuofan in this round and win clean and perfectly so that Zhuofan would have no room to deny it. The battle between these two heavyweights was on the field of alchemy. Yet, it was also a fight to the death. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qinyun stared at Zhuofan, then at vicious Pill King. "Tell me, can Elder Yen win?" "Of course, second young master." Lin Zitian jumped right in with a giggle. Elder Yen lost the first 3 rounds, but from the 3rd round, the brat used an ancient refining skill that is taxing on the body. His best is a 5th-grade pill while Elder Yen is a true 7th-grade alchemist. It would make no sense if he lost. "I see." Huangpu Qinyun nodded, but then smiled. "However, Elder Lin, thank you for reminding me. You said the same thing in the last round, staking your head on Elder Lin's victory, and how did it end?" Lin Zitian cursed in his heart as his smile froze. "When did I ever put my head for the likes of that old coot? Isn't it you who demanded it?" His only choice was to keep those words to himself and shake his head with a bright smile. Laughing, Huangpu Qinyun said, "Anyway, I do not expect anything from the old man. The loss in his first round can be said it was because of that brat's trick. But he failed the second round from P." Huangpu Qinyun shook his head but then cracked up when he recalled Yen Song's wretched look, as if he swallowed a fly. "All right, let's take it as the kid is quite able. But the 3rd round, a sneeze and a fart threw him back to the 10th spot. Is this still because of the kid's amazing skills?" "Second young master, Yen Song is usually a vicious and spiteful man. But to fail when it was most crucial makes him unworthy of bearing heavy responsibilities." The 5th elder stepped forward and started throwing stones at Yen Song. Huangpu Qinyun raised an eyebrow. "Elder Lin, what do you have to say?" Lin Zitian was hesitating. Second young master was clearly resentful over Yen Song's failures, but he had always stuck up for the old guy and their fates were tied. If he was a turncoat now, wouldn't the second young master never trust his words again? Lin Zitian gnashed his teeth. "Since I was wrong from the start, then I'll be so till the end. I hope this will be a chance for me and that old guy," he said. "Second young master, please relax. Elder Yen isn't the only one at fault, because his opponent is too sinister. In this Pill King round, the requirement is definitely above the 5th grade, and the kid won't win no matter how cunning he is. Elder Yen will be the one to take the first place." Huangpu Qinyun eyed him deeply, not because he found Elder Lin's words right, but that this opportunist had a loyal side. He couldn't help but secretly nod at that. Lin Zitian noticed his admiring gaze and sighed, feeling proud. "This time, I made the right call." Sigh. It's not easy sticking close to the ruling class. In the arena, Xiaoye smiled at the 10 grandmasters in their respective spots and started the finals. In this Pill King round, everyone has free rein on what they make. Instead of speed, it will be the highest grade that will crown you Pill King in this 100-pill meeting. In an instant, some were worried while others were happy. Huangpu Qinyun's side laughed. It went as Lin Zitian said, with the final round based on an alchemist's true ability. Tao Danyang frowned. Zhuofan was in the bone-tempering stage, and could only make a 5th-grade pill after giving his all. How was he going to defeat the 7th-grade alchemist Vicious Pill King now? Yet, by his appearances, Zhuofan seemed unconcerned. When Vicious Pill King looked at him, his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. After losing 3 rounds in a row, he figured out that the kid couldn't always rely on schemes. The refining of a 7th-grade pill at the bone-tempering stage may be pure fantasy, but, humph, this kid might actually pull it off. Zhuofan felt the old man's eyes and waved. He didn't think the one to believe him the most ended up being his greatest opponent. Then, for the purpose of fairness, Drifting Flower's edifice will provide high-grade ingredients for grandmasters who are missing ingredients. Xiaoye clapped and a lovely group of hundreds of disciples pushed cabinets in the arena. The cabinets contained ingredients from the lowest grade to the 7th, and even a few 8th-grade ingredients could be noticed swallowing dryly. Everyone, especially the alchemists, were now greedily looking over the items like a pack of starved wolves meeting a fresh lamb. Like a pack of perverts meeting a naked and gorgeous lady. Damn, Drifting Flowers' edifice is filthy rich. The sheer amount of ingredients here was not something a third- and second-rate clans could hope to obtain. Not even a first-rate clan could get them easily. I invite the Grandmasters to choose the ingredients you are lacking for your refining. A word of caution, however, do not get greedy. You need to refine with all the chosen ingredients, otherwise. Xiaoya's smile penetrated their deepest thoughts. Coughing lightly, the people chuckled in embarrassment, then began choosing. In no time at all, they all finished, having returned to their spots. However, Xiaoya looked around and found one spot empty. Still looking at the cabinets, Zhuofan was there choosing. Looting his booty. He didn't take his time going from one ingredient to another but stuffed a whole cabinet in his ring and moved to the next. From the 1st grade to the 8th, he didn't miss one. The crowd was in total shock. Dude, can you not so openly rob the Drifting Flowers' edifice? My God. The comedy. My stomach. Ah. Chapter 146, Shameless Looting. Chapter 146, Shameless Looting. Grandmaster Song Waiyu. Xiaoya pursed her red lips, and despite knowing what he was doing, she couldn't outright say it. Before the 3 rounds, Zhuofan was nothing more than a nameless silk pants, now turned #1 famous alchemist. Some token of respect had to be present when addressing him. Even as the first in the empire, you still need to be ethical. You should not openly break the rules of 100-pill meeting. Xiaoya was watching him awkwardly. She could neither stand still nor let him do what he wanted. This was a pickle. Zhuofan's hands paused and raised an eyebrow. Didn't you say these are for us? So which is it? Grandmaster Song, I think you misunderstood me. She explained. These are only used as complementary ingredients to the ones you have. Yeah, but I am lacking everything. Zhuofan resumed looting the cabinets. The crowd was speechless. You can do that? The alchemists from before were also shocked silly, thinking they should have taken some more when they had the chance. Judge. If Grandmaster Song can do it, then there's no problem if I do it too. Zitian licked his lips, looking at Zhuofan and Xiaoya anxiously. If I don't hurry up, the kid will pick them all clean. He was a top alchemist, but he sorely lacked ingredients. Xiaoya glared. Grandmaster Lu, don't make trouble. You're saying you can use them all in this round? Zitian let an awkward smile, then shook his head on his way to his spot. With how many ingredients there were, who could refine them all? He couldn't mess with Drifting Flowers' edifice then again. Getting a couple can't hurt, right? Zitian looked again at Zhuofan with admiration. He was plundering the cabinets like he was moving house. Just which clan or sect does he hail? There's no way a third-rate clan kid would dare perform highway robbery right under Drifting Flowers' edifice's nose. Grandmaster Song, you need to make sure you use all ingredients you are taking, or there will be serious consequences. Xiaoya had gotten angry and changed her tone. Zhuofan's hand slowed, then smiled and sighed. With how many there are here, how could they be refined in one go? This amount is enough for tens of thousands of pills. Then again, so what? Once he got crowned as the Pill King, he'd take the Bodhi root and haul ass out. The Drifting Flowers' edifice could then do nothing but eat his dust, so he might as well get as many treasures as he could. They'd be breaking all ties at the end, and it would be such a waste to leave these beauties lying here. Slowly turning his head, Zhuofan grinned. How do you know I won't be using them all? I'll do it in a jiffy, don't you worry your pretty little head about it. He then resumed his shameless picking. Xiaoya was close to crying. She never saw a more vile grandmaster in her life, refining tens of thousands of pills on the spot? As if this was daylight robbery. The crowd watched the darkest horse in this arena, who had displayed alchemy skills more outstanding than even vicious Pill King, now robbing the cabinets of ingredients. To think this Grandmaster has balls to rob Drifting Flower's edifice. Yet, Drifting Flower's edifice did not even try removing him from the premises. After all, who told them to give the alchemists free rein? And what if someone insisted he could refine thousands upon thousands of pills? Although far-fetched, that's beside the point. You can only settle this after the competition. Xiaoyu waited bitterly for Zhuofan to load up his ring. When he stopped, Xiaoyu was overjoyed and smiled. Grandmaster Song, are you ready? Then please return to your spot and begin refining. Everyone is waiting for you. Frowning, Zhuofan turned to Xiaoyu and his ring flashed. My storage ring is packed, can you bring me another? Staggering, Xiaoyu was about to collapse. The audience's faces froze. Grandmaster Song, you're too shameless. No, Drifting Flower's edifice does not provide storage rings. Xiaoyu roared, glancing at her. Zhuofan snorted helplessly. What 7 noble houses? So stingy. Xiaoyu was close to spurting blood. Thank God she choked on words and the blood stayed inside. She glared at Zhuofan with such hatred that she wished she could tear him limb from limb. You took advantage of us and still dares to call us stingy? Is there anyone in the world more shameless than you? Looking at the cabinets, most of them were empty, leaving only the first and second grade ingredients behind. Xiaoyu was this close to bursting into tears. These ingredients took Drifting Flower's edifice a whole year to gather. Some of them were close to 100 years old before being harvested. Yet, all of them were swept clean by a damn punk. Drifting Flower's edifice aimed to show off their power by letting the participants choose their ingredient. But then, this fool came around and nabbed them all. Just you wait, brat. If you don't bake 10,000 pills, I will tear you a new one. Xiaoyu glared with all her power at Zhuofan to comfort her bleeding heart. Her slight, almost ephemeral respect she had for him before now burned in the flames of rage and hatred. This punk is a rogue. Zhuofan had better things to do than care about her opinion. He scratched his nose and went to his spot. What is fame when tangible stuff is more valuable? He. On the terrace, Xie Tianyang was piqued by his actions, then asked, Elder Jiu, I heard you and the brat came to become allies. All his ingredients must be coming from Veiled Dragon Pavilion. Why is it that he looks so miserably poor? He was even moved by those first-grade ingredients. Humph, when talking about greedy people, even a needle on the ground can move them. Long Kuei berated. Xie Tianyang raised an eyebrow and thought, oh well, that's quite true. With this brat's character, everywhere he goes, not even grass is left. Long Jiu muttered under his breath but actually agreed with Long Kuei's assessment. What little Kuei said isn't without wisdom. This brat sure is greedy. Veiled Dragon Pavilion may be his ally, but we can't just give him our best ingredients. We can only provide 4th grade at most. But for some reason, the attendant in charge of giving him ingredients suddenly gave 5th grade ingredients too, and lots of them. We later questioned the old and loyal attendant, but he would rather take the blame for sneaking the ingredients out than to say anything. Ha ha ha, that brat sure has a way with people. Long Jiu chuckled. His eyes, however, were especially dignified. Xie Tianyang muttered, damn, I know this brat is vicious to everyone, enemy and friend alike. But he can even dig out Veiled Dragon Pavilion cornerstones? That's not quite right. The attendant is still fine, working for our house as we speak. Even he doesn't know what got into him at that time to help that brat out. Shuddering, Xie Tianyang and Jian Suifeng looked at each other as they sank in deep thought. They, who had a certain understanding of Zhuofan, now revised their opinion of him. We must not, by any means, act too friendly with him when we interact. Or he'll dig out everything from our house. The overseers were too focused on what happened in the arena to pay attention to their discussion. With every empty cabinet, their hearts bled harder, as the son-in-law to Drifting Flower's edifices. He shows not the least restraint when taking our things. But he even goes as far as not leaving anything. Chu Qingqing's angelic eyes now had a rare hint of killing intent. Rotten brat, Isn't what's yours mine? What are you taking everything for? You'll soon be returning them anyway. Xiaoya took a few deep breaths to push her anger down, boring her eyes into Zhuofan. She shouted at the 10 participants, "With everyone ready, the Pill King round shall begin." Yuan Qi flames were ignited one after the other. Zhuofan was unmoving, however. Xiaoya gnashed her teeth and spat, "Grandmaster Song, don't forget, you have to refine all the ingredients." Snorting, Zhuofan had a smile of disdain. "You daft? I ain't that stupid. Wait for me to be crowned Pill King, take my prize, then skip town. What will you do then?" Boom! Like a roar of a huge beast, the sound from a blood-colored flame shook everything as it reached the heavens the instant it appeared. The alchemists close to it had their flames shriveled up, squinting. Zhuofan laughed coldly inside a humph. That old coot finally plans to show his true skill. Chapter 147 Amazing Display. Chapter 147 Amazing Display. This. Xiaoya jumped in fright from the sudden strange flame and turned in its direction. Lu Yizhen smoothed his beard as he gave a chuckling apology to his fellow alchemists behind him. "Ha ha ha, terribly sorry, it is the finals and I must give it my all. Do forgive me if I offend anyone." No matter how polite he made it sound, his eyes couldn't hide the pride. He felt the alchemists swallowed dryly and eyed the towering flame, and then, to their own lifeless Yuan Qi kindle, feeling more and more despondent. How were they supposed to compete when another just snuffed out their efforts? They watched him with hatred in their hearts, but also envy. Just where did this old guy get that flame from anyways? With that flame, his refining might reach the 6th grade. Xiaoya's eyes lit up and cried, "Grandmaster Lu's flame must be from a 4th-level spiritual beast, the sky-blazing python's heart fire. I heard the sky-blazing python spends its time moving underground, and its core is influenced by the earth's fire. It is so hot it can melt anything. No ingredient on this land cannot be refined with it. Grandmaster Lu must have been holding on to it for the final round." "Ha ha ha, you sure are knowledgeable, girl. No wonder you're the judge. But besides a flame, one must also make use of an intricate refining skill. I have taken out this flame to increase my rank. However, I dare not aim for the crown." Lu Yizhen shook his hand with modesty, but his pride was no different from one who thought of himself as the next Pill King. Hypocrite! Curse the crowd, in particular, the alchemists who only had Yuan Qi flames and were influenced by the mighty blaze. He had a reason to be smug, of course. With how strong his 4th-level spiritual beast flame was, it not only increased his refining but also slowed down the others, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. With such a flame, if 2 people were of equal levels, one would have his refining boosted by 2 grades. His confidence was well placed. "Even you, vicious Pill King. My flame will lower you from 7th grade to 6th. Everyone could make this educated guess just from looking at the faltering flames around him. Just when the crowd was focused on the battle between vicious Pill King and Zhuofan, it had now gotten even more confusing to whom the crown would place their bets. On Xiaoya's side, and watched Lu Yizhen in admiration. He was the true black horse of the 100-pill meeting. He hid it well. She couldn't help asking this though. "Grandmaster Lu, I heard that sky-blazing python is very rare and strong as a profound heaven expert. May I ask how you obtained its core's flame?" "Ha ha ha, that time was truly dangerous. About a year ago." "Humph, you're so cocky with just a stinking snake flame." Just as Lu Yizhen was about to retell his grand and historical venture, of the endless trials of hardship he had to go through, a snort stopped him short, then marked by a humming. A small bluish flame flickered into existence. Its appearance cut the size of all Yuan Qi flames in half. What was even more astounding was the fact that even Lu Yizhen's beast core flame shuddered as it turned lifeless, crying out in shock. Lu Yizhen turned to find Yan Fu holding a raging dark blue fire and sporting a condescending smile. This. Xiaoya cried. "Is this a 5th-level spiritual beast flame from the fire swallow?" "Indeed." Yan Fu laughed coldly and mocked Lu Yizhen. I have bested you in the imperial capital, old Lu, and I will do it again today. Don't get carried away in thinking the Pill King title is yours. Ha ha ha, how laughable. You think you're the only one in this world with a special flame? Beet red, Lu Yizhen felt his anger boil but had no leeway to complain. He had to admit that a top alchemist was more than capable of getting himself a 4th-level spiritual beast flame. The least of all Yen Fu, who was Pill King Hall's core disciple. A sigh, I was too naive. In the end, who could compare with the 7 noble houses? Lu Yizhen gave a wistful sigh. Before he could rise completely, another one came to knock him down to his place. Now recalling the smug look from before, it only worked to color his face red. Young Master Yen, Fire Swallow is a 5th-level spiritual beast that even Radiant stage experts have trouble defeating. But we are dirt poor, using the weakest flame made of Yuan Qi. Have some mercy and don't take out an even more amazing flame, or our Yuan Qi flames won't take it. We won't even be able to cook rice, let alone pills. Chapter 148 Heaven and Earth Spirit Flame. Chapter 148 Heaven and Earth Spirit Flame. Master! Yen Fu's call echoed in everyone's ears, but vicious Pill King seemed oblivious. His eyes fixed on one place only. It happened even at Yen Fu's second call following his sight. What lay at the end was the first spot where Zhuofan stood with his arms crossed and eyes closed in vicious Pill King's eyes. This opponent was the only one who could light his competitive spirit. Taking a deep breath, vicious Pill King shouted, "Kid, don't you have any other special skills in store for this final round?" Flashing his eyes open, Zhuofan shot him a look and snorted, "If yours truly has or not, what's it to you?" "Quite a lot actually. I want to have a showdown with you, a fair competition. If you're still hiding your skills, then I shall be using the flame that had been with me for years to win. But if this is all you had to offer, I won't take advantage of your plight. Even keeping my flame hidden, I can still beat you just with a plain Yuan Qi flame." Such bold words. The people's hearts shivered, their faces gloomy. If vicious Pill King said this before, none would have anything to comment. Just who could beat the best alchemist in the empire? But now, after losing to Zhuofan 3 times, his words were akin to an empty boast. "Oh please, don't you recall how Grandmaster Song pissed, sneezed and farted you out of the second spot? If not for wasting half of your shriveled life, you'd never even be in this round. It happened just a few minutes ago. Did you go senile, you old coot?" Not only Chu Qingcheng looked derisory at him, but the rest of the audience as well. But vicious Pill King only had eyes for Zhuofan. Anything else, even the despising glances directed to him, were of no consequence. Zhuofan squinted and snorted, "Humph, then let yours truly enlighten you. I indeed have hidden one skill. Don't you worry your old little head about it and go all out. The title of Pill King will be mine regardless." "Ha ha ha, all right. Then I shall rest easy. You are the first opponent in decades that can make me exert all my ability in alchemy. Please, after you." Raising an eyebrow, Zhuofan asked, "Why do you want me to go first? Shouldn't we both do it at the same time?" With an ambiguous smile, vicious Pill King showed a proud expression. "Youngster, I'm not bragging when I say that even with your great refining skill, you won't finish that pill once I let out this old flame of mine. In hope that you can exert your best, I will start after you finish. It wouldn't matter if I finish a bit later. This round is based on the grade after all." Zhuofan's mouth perked at one corner and almost laughed. The old coot has total confidence in his flame. But so did he in regards to his Azure flame, his secret weapon. Just that it got him wondering which was stronger, his Azure flame or the old coot's. "There is no doubt. Mine is better." It was one of those treasures that the demonic emperor would covet. Smiling, he said, "Since Elder Yen is so sure, by all means, take out your flame and let us all widen our horizons. While also letting me know if I should just give up right now." Yeah, master, just let them see your might. Yen Fu cheered, laughing. Vicious Pill King never felt more excited as of this moment. If you want to see it so much, then here it is. With a cackling laughter, a white fire burned in Vicious Pill King's thin hand. Then, a wicked face appeared within the flame. That cackling laughter actually came from it. Its appearance snuffed out all the Yuan Qi flames around. Luizhen, Yen Fu and Tao Danyang's beast flames acted as if something dreadful appeared and shrank to half their size, as if prostrating before their king. Shock was an understatement, as even Zhuo Fan's eyelids trembled. Who knew this old guy was actually hiding something so valuable? This, Tao Danyang was scared out of her mind. Yen Fu raised his head in pride and laughed. Do you see that? This is the flame master chanced upon a decade ago, the heaven and earth spirit flame, bone soul true fire. A heaven and earth spirit flame. SSS. Those words evoked gasps of sheer amazement from all around. The people watched the evil face in Vicious Pill King's hand and their hearts sighed. Even the alchemical disinclined knew that the heaven and earth spirit flame was made from gathered spiritual energy of heaven and earth that over millions of years and had gained spirituality. The flame was actually alive, a veritable king among flames. The 5th and 6th level beast flames were nothing compared to it. The flame was the body, while the wicked face was the spirit of the bone soul true fire. It not only could refine any kind of ingredient but also amplify their effects and raise the grade of the pill. It was every alchemist's dream to have one. Vicious Pill King was the best alchemist in Tianyu for a reason after all. Now, no matter what secret refining skill Zhuo Fan used, it would be of no importance. Did you not see how the Yuan Qi flames got snuffed? They couldn't stand its power. Even those beast flames were shirking away. 3 things were of most importance to an alchemist: cultivation, refining skills, and flame. When the flame was wilted from the pressure of another, winning was impossible. Sighing, the people turned to Zhuo Fan, shaking their heads in pity. How sad! An extraordinary alchemist was so close to beating the best alchemist in Tianyu, but under the flame's suppression, failure is imminent. If he fails here, we will lose another genius. The heavens must be truly jealous of geniuses. The thought didn't even cross their mind if Zhuo Fan, with how young he was, and his background, had a flame that could counter Vicious Pill King's heaven and earth spirit flame, since not even the 7 houses could pass along such flames. This old guy's luck had to be off the charts to stumble upon the bone soul true fire. Sensing everyone's fear and awe of it, the white flame's face cackled madly in excitement. The laughter was jarring to the ear and filled with boundless despise. Just like a ruler who won and lorded over his enemies, Tao Danyang sighed and closed her eyes. If she knew the old man to have such a spirit item, she wouldn't have wasted her energy and just gave up. Then again, now that she recalled, the one who won 3 times against Vicious Pill King was none other than him. Tao Danyang turned to Zhuo Fan and shook her head. Not even the brat can get out of this one. Chu Qingqing frowned in worry. She was looking at Zhuo in hope he had a way to turn it all around. But Zhuo Fan's face never wavered. He was always calm, as if he was in deep thought. The overseers were beside themselves in worry. Only Long Jiu's group was unfazed. According to Zhuo Fan's plan, winning wasn't a must. At worst he'd just bolt on the eastern stand. Huangpu Qingyun's group had long since started laughing. The old man actually had such a treasure hidden. Losing now is impossible, ha ha ha. Huangpu Qingyun laughed. Vicious Pill King is definitely worthy of his title. The others nodded, with the happiest being Lin Zitian. At some point, he tied his fate with Vicious Pill King over a reason not he was sure of. But now that Vicious Pill King was at an advantage, the second young master was excited and he was basking in the glory nearby. Elder Lin Huangpu Qingyun smiled. Lin Zitian rushed next to him. Yes. The moment the kid loses, rush over and take his head. Understand? Startled, Lin Zitian said, Why me? Isn't Elder Yen supposed to do this? Squinting, Huangpu Qingyun snorted. If he were to move, Qingqing would be sure to block him. I do not wish to further alienate her from me. Your Mary Woods is focusing on speed, so taking the kid's head in an instant is easy. Qingqing would be enraged, but would not dare to make everything worse over a dead man. Realizing what he meant, Lin Zitian gave a thumbs up. Nice, second young master is truly wise. The other men felt their stomachs churning as they secretly cursed him for being shameless. Wang Pu Qingyun's smile seemed to say everything was dancing in his palm, but just then, the crowd froze in shock seeing vicious Pill King's flame swayed around Zhua as he laughed. Ha ha ha, brat, now you know why I told you to go first? Even if you have a beast flame, it won't do you any good with my bone soul true fire out. Didn't you want to get your hands on the Bodhi root? Zhuofan was still calm, taking a deep breath. Vicious Pill King seemed to recall something and laughed. Yes, I indeed want it. But what I want more is to win against you fair and square. To see who among us shall be the best alchemist in Tianyu. Defeating you because of the flame's power is not something I will ever accept. Zhuofan looked long at him. He may be shameless and despicable, cunning and vicious, but when all is said and done he is a tough Grandmaster alchemist. It's kind of a pity for him to be in the Pill King Hall. Chapter 149, The Monarchic Azure Flame. Chapter 149, The Monarchic Azure Flame. A wicked grin plastered on his face. Zhuofan seemed to have something special in store. Yen Fu's heart seized. He understood his master's intention and wanted to advise against it, but vicious Pill King shook his hand. Did the old fart turn senile? Huang Pu Qingyun sensed the situation spiraling into an undesirable direction and clenched his fists. Lin Zitian wiped the cold sweat from his brows. His mind was on edge. Old coot. You're vile and wicked, so why the hell are you doing the exact opposite at a crucial time like this? Cut the righteous act, both our lives are at stake here. Catching the Eastern Stands people's reaction with a side glance, Zhuofan swiveled his eyes on vicious Pill King. Old man, I appreciate the thought, but there really is no need for that. It's best you go ahead and refine. Vicious Pill King stared at Zhuofan in astonishment. Zhuofan's words were backed by unfaltering confidence. He did not propose to do it together and see who was stronger, but directly urged Yen Song to go fist. Does he have an even stronger flame than Bone Soul True Fire? He fears that his flame will affect my own. Vicious Pill King's heart trembled, but he couldn't find it in himself to believe that the world could house a stronger flame than the heaven and earth spirit flame. Ha ha ha. Youngster, don't brag. Taking your age and background into account, the most you can afford is a 4th-level beast flame. You think it's enough to stand toe-to-toe with mine? Vicious Pill King was probing Zhuofan, who only smiled. Such action only made Zhuofan look more mysterious that even the rest were at a loss for words. You're telling us that Grandmaster Song has a mystical flame that can stand against your Bone Soul True Fire? This would make the final round more exciting. 2 Grandmasters, 2 heaven and earth spirit flames, fighting toe-to-toe for the crown. In a blink, the crowd's nervous eyes landed on Zhuofan, eagerly awaiting his answer. Chu Qingqing and the overseers were especially nervous in terms of refining skills. Zhuofan was a cut above Yen Song. Coupled with a possible heaven and earth spirit flame, this could all work to compensate for his weak cultivation. Only Xie Tianyang felt disdained as he laughed. Don't go and believe his hoshposh people. That brat is up to his neck in faking again. He is in a battle of minds with the old man. I've seen this trick too many times to count. Long Jiu and the rest nodded with how deep and twisted the kid's plans went. It was very much plausible to be a tactic of his to unnerve Yen Song. Today's events proved it. Yen Song himself suffered at Zhuofan's schemes again and again, making him grow cautious. After some careful thought, he laughed. Kid, I am frank with you, but yet you still use such petty tricks to mess with my head. The same tactic won't work on me again. What makes you think I am? Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. Humph. By no means do you have a heaven and earth spirit flame, perhaps not even a beast flame. You are only pretending so as to disturb my mind. You used these cheap tricks in the previous 2 rounds already, and you want to do it again? Shaking his head, Zhuofan sighed. Vicious Pill King, you have such a low opinion of me. You take yours truly as nothing but a vicious and petty schemer, whose plans only amount to lying about having a heaven and earth spirit flame to mess with your head? Is that what you think my plans amount to? I'm hurt. Pausing, Vicious Pill King realized it was indeed so. Zhuofan may have sneezed and farted, nothing but petty tricks, but it hit right when it hurt him the most. Each and every time, his focus crumbled at the most crucial moment. If his mind was not as strong, he would have long devolved into chaos, unable to continue refining compared to the last 2 times. Zhuofan's words now were a bit disbelieving, but not enough to affect his mind. This only threw Vicious Pill King into even deeper confusion in his eyes. Zhuofan had become an enigma, whose every gesture and random act were filled with intricate mysteries. Never had he encountered such a baffling opponent in his life. Damn it, who'd have thought picking a fight with this punk would end up becoming a torment? Vicious Pill King couldn't come to a conclusion even after some long and hard thinking. He just gnashed his teeth in the end and howled, "Brat, no matter what flame you have, take it out. I want to have a fair match with you, so stop jumping at every shadow. It is because I have the same wish that I do not want to reveal it. I still insist on letting you go first." Zhuofan sneered. "If I do take it out, you might lose your desire to even compete. Starting together would end in your loss, no doubt about it." His words sounded even more cocksure than Vicious Pill King's from before. They were so outrageous that none of the people there believed him. A flame that can cow the best alchemist in the Empire to surrender just at the sight of it, does it even exist? Not even Vicious Pill King was that outrageous before pulling out his white flame. "Dude, take a closer look. He holds the Lord of the Flames, a heaven and earth spirit flame. Even if you have the same kind of fire, it will only result in a tie. Even if by some off chance it is stronger, how much could it actually be compared to Yensong's? You're saying your flame is so freakish that it can suppress a heaven and earth spirit flame just as the latter suppresses beast flames. Did the world even have such a thing? Humph, he's clearly faking and bragging, yet none of his words sound believable." Xie Tianyang mocked. Vicious Pill King laughed. "Kid, you take me for a 3-year-old? The world does not have such a savage flame. If you can take it out, then I will directly kowtow 3-inch. Suddenly, his voice was choked with the appearance of an azure flame above 2 of Zhuofan's fingers. It was as calm as candlelight, unimpressive in the slightest, but this plain azure flame descended on the world like a monarch. Its invisible pressure befell like a mountain. The cackling bone soul Truefire now seemed to have found its nemesis and scurried back into Vicious Pill King's body, never to come out again, not even at Vicious Pill King's incessant urgings. If a heaven and earth spirit flame was so decisive, then Luizhen's, Yen Fu's and Tao Danyang's beast flames were even worse. They had no spirituality, but they nonetheless trembled under the azure fire's pressure and died out when the monarch of flames descended. No common flame dared to burn. All the fires died out in a blink, even the other alchemists. Only Zhuofan's frail azure flame let out a soft glow. The shock was incomprehensible. Even Vicious Pill King stared slack-jawed. What is this? The heaven and earth spirit flame ran? Vicious Pill King's body was swaying. He was the owner of Bone Soul Truefire, and could feel it shivering in fear. What flame is that? Zhuofan looked at his azure flame with a smile. Who knows? It's been given to me anyway. His cheeks twitching, Vicious Pill King trembled. Why is it that I wasn't lucky enough to have someone give me such a strong flame? When he chanced upon the Bone Soul Truefire, he'd been so thrilled he couldn't sleep a wink for how much fortune smiled upon him. He could have died happy. But here, now, in Zhuofan's presence, his bit of luck was lackluster, to say the least. Now, do you still want to refine? Zhuofan snickered, letting the azure flame sway in front of him. Vicious Pill King's eyes reddened from envy. How the hell could he still refine? His entire mind was set on that frail flame. He was almost consumed by the desire to just seize it. Zhuofan laughed, knowing perfectly well what Yen Song was thinking. Now do you believe me? Well then, Vicious Pill King, let me ask you. Who's the petty one? Vicious Pill King felt like crying. God damn it. This punk is unfathomable. 3 rounds ago he spoke not a grain of truth, and now he said the most unbelievable things, yet it turns out to be the whole and unfurnished truth. Curses. His plots are too sinister for me to unravel. Despite being filled with regret, Vicious Pill King still reddened as he admitted, "Pardon me, Grandmaster Song. I have wrongly mistaken a gentleman for being petty." "Ha ha ha, lighten up. It's enough to know that I'm a perfect gentleman." Zhuofan laughed and not only made the old man redden harder from shame but even flaunted. "Then, wanna go ahead and refine? Or maybe together? You joking? Refine with you? How, when any and all flames were snuffed because of yours?" I get why this punk said there was no competition if both refined together. Vicious Pill King sighed and admitted it despite the humiliation it brought. "Pardons, Grandmaster Song. I was overconfident. I shall go ahead and refine first." "All right. With my generous nature, I shall let you begin." Zhuofan smiled and took back his azure flame while crossing his arms. Even so, he couldn't help himself from muttering, "Stingy, how unreasonable." His voice may have been soft, but all heard him. Vicious Pill King staggered. He was truly pissed but felt more aggrieved than anything else. "I rarely want a fair fight, and what do I get? Humiliation. Being good is not all that cracked up to be." He was oblivious though that as he was feeling sorry for himself, Zhuofan nodded in his mind and his mouth widened into a broad and satisfied smile. Chapter 150 Authority. Chapter 150 Authority. Holy cow, he wasn't faking. The brat did have a card up his sleeve. On the terrace, Xie Tianyang stumbled. Then it hit him. Right, he used the same azure flame against you geeky too. I took it as some martial art at the time, but now I see that it's actually a heaven and earth treasure. It all made sense now. How he faced Hell Valley's profound ranked martial art and easily overcame it. The azure flame could easily handle a heaven and earth spirit flame, so it was only natural to be able to deal with you geeky's wicked skill. Xie Tianyang found himself looking at Long Jiu. This brat has so much stuff on him that makes him a walking treasury. Are you sure he's only a third-rate clan kid? Why are you looking at me for? I'm as clueless as you are. Long Jiu snorted, then kept watching Zhuofan. Veiled Dragon Pavilion had looked again and again into Zhuofan's history, but they always came with the same answer. A servant that never left the Luo clan, yet the night of the Luo clan's demise marked his complete change. A mere servant took the four-membered Luo clan and pulled it through the crisis. Along the path of remarkable wisdom and deep schemes, he changed the fate of the Luo clan, turning it into a future opponent for the 7 noble houses. Veiled Dragon Pavilion weren't fools, of course, especially Long Jiu. Their new hatred for Hell Valley was all because Zhuofan instigated it, yet, even so, they were willing to take this burden for him first. Just as Zhuofan predicted, Veiled Dragon Pavilion was not about to show weakness before their archenemy, Hell Valley. With how deep their hatred was, adding one more debt was of little concern, not to mention, in the great battle of Windgaze City, making them carry the killing of those 2 elders was in fact a favor. Even when he was summoned by the Emperor, the Pavilion Lord was grinning from ear to ear. It had been years since Pavilion Lord was this excited, and secondly, Zhuofan's power shocked every one of them to the marrow. Even Veiled Dragon Pavilion's highly ranked men started discussing with Zhuofan when he was but a chi condensation cultivator. None of them could have come with a more perfect plan than his sowing dissension, escaping, bidding his time to land the final blow. It all may have seemed simple tactics, but their execution would have been far from his. This was something easily understood by reading the 2 houses' millennia-long feud. Moreover, Zhuofan was very skilled. Not only he could set up a fifth-grade array, but he also had many long-lost ancient arrays after so many miracles. Pavilion Lord's quick decision to cooperate with Zhuofan was met with no objection. And that was only because this kid's actions left everyone unable to unravel his true purpose. From the looks of it, Zhuofan's change seemed to have started from that fateful night before it. He was just an honest-to-God and shy servant. After it, he changed into the sinister and cunning steward that none in the 7 houses could compare with. That night was the crux. But what did happen that night? Taking a deep breath, Long Jiu was filled with confusion, trying to pick some hints by looking at the smug figure, only to sigh in the end. He may very well be the only one who knows the answer to this riddle. Totally oblivious of Long Jiu Group's comments, the overseers had long been skipping in joy at seeing Vicious Pill King taken down a peg, again just like some 16-year-old girls, blushing to the ears. This was the finals after all. Pushing the old man back would help in increasing his chance of winning it. Xiao Dandan had never seen her senior aunt and master so happy in her life. She knew they were happy, and so was she, raising her pretty face in pride as if to tell the world, "Here comes my man!" As Chu Qingqing saw that figure growing in authority, her heart grew with love, though still reserved enough not to be so frank about it as Xiao Dandan. But her eyes couldn't hide the warmth and feeling she had for him. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun's elegant visage was now twisted in rage. Even the most oblivious of his men could see he was best left alone, if they valued their life. But did that mean he wouldn't come to you by himself? Elder Lin. Huangpu Qingyun squinted and snapped. Lin Zitian shivered and stood at attention, though his heart was on the verge of crying. "Second young master, orders? Didn't you promise me that the old fool will win? Well, where is his win?" He quoted fairness and offered to let the punk refine first, only to be shamed further. What fairness? He wouldn't have brought more shame on himself if someone else did that to him. "Second young master, Elder Yen isn't the only one at fault." Lin Zitian spoke over Huangpu Qingyun to curb his anger, or he would have been sent into the fray sooner than needed. At that time, that bastard Vicious Pill King would have been long gone, and he unable to deal with the kid alone. To safeguard his life, he had to speak up. He continued anxiously, "Second young master, you saw it too. It's not Elder Yen who is powerless, but that punk is just too freakish." Lin Zitian stammered for a long time before coming with an apt description. "The heaven and earth spirit flame is the lord of the flames." But who saw it coming that the brat would pull an even more freakish flame, rendering the lord of the flames inferior? None of us did. Huangpu Qingyun rose his hand at first but soon put it down. He had calmed down somewhat after those words, though his calmness was one that inspired fear. He looked at Zhuofan. "Indeed, this is not on Elder Yen, but all because that brat is too strong." This was the first time Huangpu Qingyun admitted Zhuofan's strength. His men trembled. Their second young master was a man of immense pride who never acknowledged anyone, yet here he was praising someone for their strength, and was also quite sincere at it. Perhaps Huangpu Qingyun's anger wasn't because of Yensong's setback, but his unwillingness to admit someone could have the same authority as him. This was something a proud and domineering man like himself would never allow to happen. Therefore, they all looked at Zhuofan as if he was already dead, and sure enough, Huangpu Qingyun followed with, "Elder Lin, there's no need to act anymore. I will kill that brat myself." Then what of edifice, Lord Chu?" Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with naked killing intent. "I want to avoid fighting with Qingqing, but I can never find peace until I kill the kid myself." His men's hearts shivered as they nodded. Whoosh. Vicious Pill King let out his white flame again, and Xiao Ye rushed to stop him. "Forgive me, Elder Yen, but because of your flame and the beast flames, the other alchemists can't refine. So, to give a fair judgment, I can only ask all of you to refine one at a time, from weak to strong." "Humph, you want me to give way to them?" Vicious Pill King snored. "Why should I? It won't matter even if my flame doesn't affect them. They don't rise to even one hair of mine. Giving way to them means wasting my time. Tao Danyang grew angry and glared at him. Yen Fu snickered at the side, finding it only natural his master was the best in the empire, except the unknown kid that sprung up from who knew where. Who else could match his master? The alchemists, Lu Yizhen included, were livid, but facts were facts. They had no ways to refute Vicious Pill King, and could only sigh. Xiaoya found herself in a tight spot. What was planned to be the finals between 10 people, now became a clash of 2. Were the other 8 alchemists mere decorations to make them look good? What was the point of getting this far then? Too bad Vicious Pill King was the best alchemist in the empire and was dead set on his decision. The judge could do nothing in Xiaoya's moment of anxiety and stomping. A lazy voice echoed. Old man, since it's a competition, give them a chance. Why do you have to be so hard? This startled everyone and turned to see Zhuofan still with his arms crossed and eyes closed, but smiling nonetheless. Frowning, Vicious Pill King muttered, then withdrew his flame. Those alchemists, who had it rough with just their yuan qi flames, were overjoyed. While the others looked at Vicious Pill King dumbfounded, even Yen Fu looked at Vicious Pill King as if he wasn't his master. Since when did his prideful master secede? Just like that because someone said so? This is mortifying. But the fact was, one word from Zhuofan was enough to make the grand and arrogant Vicious Pill King renounce his pride. What's going on? Did the old man get a personality change? Up in the eastern stand, Hell Valley's 5th elder was filled with puzzlement like everyone else. What they didn't notice, however, was Huangpu Qingyun's even thicker killing intent. Perhaps he was the sole person here who understood authority. It was what made others submit completely. He wielded the same authority, an obvious fact from the people around him that listened to his orders without question. But this authority was bestowed by Regent Estate. As these men submitted to Regent Estate's power, he could only thus order them. More clearly stated, they spoke yes while their hearts were against it. Only Huangpu Qingyun understood that Zhuofan had become the man with the most authority here. And his authority was based on the true submission of everyone present. Vicious Pill King was the perfect example, seceding with just some words. It was all because from the very beginning he grasped everyone's hearts, letting them take one step at a time and growing their faith in him. This was the true way of the ruling class in seizing authority. At first Huangpu Qingyun's killing intent at Zhuofan was rather hazy. He guessed it was because of a conflict of interest, but now he clearly wanted Zhuofan dead. After Lin Zitian spoke and Zhuofan showed a monarchic flame, he understood perfectly why Zhuofan had to die. He wasn't as narrow-minded as others thought him to be, that he couldn't stand someone more powerful than him. His decision to kill Zhuofan was because of the feeling he got from the latter. Every time Zhuofan did something, it was like an open challenge to his authority. How could a regent's authority be so easily challenged? A mountain wasn't big enough for 2 tigers. With 2 people knowing the way to grasp the hearts of the people, they would fight over authority, and only one would come out victorious. Zhuofan had long noticed the killing intent coming from the eastern stand, but he was unfazed as ever, even sporting a scornful grin. Chapter 151, Clinging. Chapter 151, Clinging. Going with Xiaoya's proposal, the first to start were the 5 grandmasters who used yuan qi flames. They hastily took out their flames and gave a sign of gratitude at the other grandmasters. Although they were ranked among the best alchemists in Tianyu Empire, Zhuofan showed up with his heaven-defying refining skill that made them look as common as muck. This was clearly showed through the yawns of the crowd. Their refining resulted in 3 high and 2 mid 5th grade pills. Not one could go higher than 5th grade. The third round had such a grade as the target. Showing it now, in the finals, robbed them of any chance at getting the first place. They knew of their limits but chose to do it anyway so they could catch the eyes of some powerful clans. Grinning, Yen Fu patronized. Master was right after all. Letting those idiots go first was a total waste of time. He threw Lu Yizhen a side glance and sneered, "Lu, old man, Weren't you bragging about using your 4th level beast flame to freaking press us all down into making a 5th grade pill? I have no intention to be pill king. Just getting ahead of a twerp like you and washing away the disgrace is enough. Zitian said as he caressed his beard. Yen Fu seemed to have heard the biggest joke ever. Ha ha ha, old man, losing is losing. What are you doing tacking that cocky tone? Not to mention, my beast flame is stronger than yours. And you still think of besting me? Humph, alchemy isn't based on flame alone. Last time I lost in terms of speed, but when it comes to refining abilities, I am above you, twerp. Zitian's hand burned with his beast flame as he threw in all kinds of ingredients. Yen Fu had a constant sneer on his face as seconds trickled by. The scarlet flame blazed constantly, illuminating Zitian's hard red face. Suddenly, Zitian spat a blood arrow into the flame. The fire exploded, and a scarlet pill twirled in the air before he caught it. Zitian ignored the blood on his mouth as he gasped. He glowered at Yen Fu and revealed a crazy smile as he showed the pill. Brat. Tell me, what grade is this? Yen Fu stared at the old man and gnashed his teeth in reply. But Xiao Ye yelped. Grandmaster Lu refined a high 6th grade pill. Say what? The audience was in an uproar. Grandmaster Lu was a 5th grade alchemist, but he actually managed to refine a 6th grade pill. This was something not even a fresh 6th grade alchemist could pull off. Was it really all because of the 4th level beast flame? Could it be? Whoosh. Yen Fu cut their second-guessing short by letting his blue flame out. The raging tongue of flame shined in his pair of eyes, as if they themselves contained a deep fire within. Whoosh. Ingredients flew into it one after another, refining and mixing. He did it with such practiced ease that it looked no different than eating, earning no few praises. Zhuofan was too awesome earlier, so Zitian and Yen Fu's limelight got smothered. People now bore witness to a youth, who, while not as freakish as Zhuofan, was by all intents and purposes a genius of alchemy. He was indeed an expert alchemist hailing from Pill King Hall. Suddenly, Yen Fu also bit his tongue and spat blood essence. It fused with the blue flame in a blink. Zitian's pupils contracted as his weak body trembled. His lips parted, but no words could come out from the sheer shock that grasped his mind. Whoosh. The fire vanished and a bluish pill shined. He grabbed it and showed it to Zitian. Yen Fu was pale and blood dripped from his mouth, painting a gruesome image when coupled with his smile. Old man, tell me, what grade is this? Looking closely, Zitian shook his head sullenly. He was now too dejected to even reply. Yen Fu let out an unrestrained laughter. Xiao Ye flicked closer and looked in shock. Young Master, Yen Fu refined a low 7th grade pill. A what? The audience exploded. There was now another 7th grade alchemist in the Pill King Hall besides Vicious Pill King? And one so young at that? At the side, Tao Danyang couldn't help sucking her teeth. They're both insane. They have no shot at becoming the Pill King with Vicious Pill King around, so why still refine with blood essence? Is their grudge so deep to warrant such illogical action? Losing a drop of blood essence meant an injured vitality that could persist through years. If one was careless in their recovery, it could lead to permanent damage. Worse would be stunted cultivation. An alchemist would never use such a method unless the situation was dire. Vicious Pill King did it to barely qualify. You too, however, the hell, you just up and harmed yourself for some simple refining? Tao Danyang cursed them inside but was in fact hesitating. She was a 6th grade alchemist who should have had no problem with these two. But God knew what got into them, using their blood essence to refine. Yen Fu even managed to land a 7th grade pill. If she too didn't bleed, Yen Fu would win. What goddamned face will I have left then? Gnashing her teeth and stomping, Tao Danyang's eyes flashed with resolve and the green flame appeared in her hand. I've been at this even before you were born. You think I have lost my touch? Ingredients spiraled inside the flame. When it was almost done, She also bit her tongue and spat a blood arrow. When the flame died out, Tao Danyang's weak body reached for the pill with a gleeful smile. Heavens! It's a mid-7th grade pill. Xiao Ya's outcry agitated the crowd. Only Yen Fu and Luizhen looked at her puzzled old hag. We decided on settling our accounts from the Imperial Capital Alchemy competition. So what are you trying to pull? Tao Danyang almost spat blood in anger. But seeing the two of them confused, her face went red and tried to cover it with a snort. I'll have you know that there is a mountain beyond a mountain, as there's someone above another. You two have a long way to go. Don't let yourself caught up in thinking only you two exist in this contest. You need to set your eyes further into the distance. There are many adversaries ahead. Tao Danyang sighed, and through this lesson, she recovered her bearing, but the two weren't grateful in the least. Old hag, we focused on each other because we wished to settle a score. How does this have anything to do with you? Yen Fu raised an eyebrow and spoke vaguely. You think we don't know of mountains beyond mountains and someone above another? Aren't they clearly Master and that brat? What's the point of even saying it? Luizhen nodded in full accord. These two are prime examples. What are you trying to teach us? Tao Danyang sank into silence, lost for words seeing the two of them sporting wise gazes. She was itching to kick them. You think I'd waste blood essence to uphold my reputation if it weren't for you two morons doing it first in your dumb fight? I wanted out of this awkward situation with my name intact, but you bastards aren't even giving me that. Speaking of which, I can expect it from this prick, Yen Fu, since he's from Pill King Hall. But what of you, Luizhen? So old and you don't know how to show some respect? Tao Danyang gnashed her teeth in rage, but no one cared about her at this moment. All eyes were on Vicious Pill King. Despite this round being a showdown between 10 contestants, it was in fact between only 2. Squinting, Vicious Pill King stared hard at Zhuofan Wush. With an evil laughter, the Bone Soul Truefire re-emerged. He was in no hurry to throw ingredients in, choosing to spit blood essence again. Master, no. Yen Fu cried. Vicious Pill King already did this in the 3rd round, harming himself. If he did it again, then he would be left with scarring injury, or worse, die from severe trauma. But Vicious Pill King no longer cared. How often did he meet a real opponent? To defeat Zhuofan, his greatest adversary, he was willing to do everything he could, even pay with his life. Vicious Pill King then threw ingredients in the flame, getting it refined in an instant in the Bone Soul Truefire, mixing along with his blood essence. Suddenly, Vicious Pill King spat blood essence again. This shocked even Tao Danyang. Has the old man lost it? It may increase the pill's grade greatly, but it will also threaten his life. Vicious Pill King hardly cared. His eyes filled with endless madness. Yen Fu fell to his knees with tears streaming down his cheeks. Master, what happened to you? Whoosh. Only now did the ever-relaxed Zhuofan open his eyes, watching Vicious Pill King with an even gaze, but noticing Zhuofan watching him, it got Vicious Pill King even more excited. Chapter 152 Cradle Returning Dragons. Chapter 152 Cradle Returning Dragons. Whoosh. The raging flame made a clear contrast with Vicious Pill King's wan face. The once imposing and tough old man now appeared frail, and with one foot in the grave. His body swayed in the breeze, a moment away from collapsing, but he clenched his teeth and persevered. He grinned at Zhuofan, who was looking back at him, with excitement as if to challenge Zhuofan. Vicious Pill King's gestures changed, and the flame soared, losing blood essence 3 times in a day, along with supplying so much yuan qi had taken its toll on his aged body. Sweat began to fall from not just his face as his hands grew paler and seemed to age with the naked eye, but his eyes danced in joy as he saw the pill slowly form within the flame. His behavior even stirred the sympathy of those who hated him to the core, including Chu Qingqing and the overseers. Vicious Pill King is vile and twisted, but one had to admit his alchemy skill is worthy of admiration. He lives up to his name as the first alchemist in the empire. Long Jiu sighed in praise, the others nodded, watching Vicious Pill King with the same feelings despite being on opposite sides. A hero was worthy of respect. Bone Soul Truefire was indeed a heaven and earth spirit flame. And in the expert hands of Vicious Pill King, the pill was completed in no time at all. The pill was ready to be taken out of the inferno, but right at this moment, Vicious Pill King spat more blood essence. Everyone was nervous when it entered the fire. A humming spread and the Bone Soul Truefire burned hotter at the same time. A pill shined brightly and flew out of the fire with a cackle. The sound of the laughter was in fact the same as Bone Soul Truefire's. Vicious Pill King bestowed the pill with spirituality. Long Jiu sighed in amazement. The others looked on in shock at the incredible dancing pill. It was a known fact that a heaven and earth spirit flame could instill spirituality into a pill, but doing it was a whole another matter. In Tianyu Empire's 1,000-year-old history, there had been accounts of alchemists possessing a heaven and earth spirit flame, but none of them were able to refine a living pill. This rumor came from outside the borders. But for such an alchemist to appear even after such a long time, it was still rarer than rare. The entire continent might not have had such a genius appearing over the last half-millennia, but Vicious Pill King had done it. Zhuofan with his dazzling performance had made the people neglect this number one alchemist in the empire. But now he used his power to prove he was still the best. With a gesture, the pill entered his hand and Vicious Pill King's hair started swirling in the air. He slowly raised the pill in Zhuofan's direction. His eyes recovering their pride and arrogance, he was weakened, but let the people see this old man teetering towards collapse like a lofty giant. To this, Xiaoya opened and closed her mouth speechless. In the end, she finally managed to express her doubt. Odd, the pill looks to be above the 7th grade but not quite in the 8th. What does it mean? Squinting, Vicious Pill King didn't respond. Only stared rivetingly at Zhuofan. It was an open provocation. Chuckling, Zhuofan said, "It is without a doubt a 7th grade pill, albeit a perfect one. If you insist on defining it, you can call it a grade-skipping pill. But it is in fact this kind of pill the hardest to refine in one's alchemical journey. It may be a 7th grade pill, but its worth supersedes a common 8th grade pill." The crowd was in complete shock. This was their first time hearing of a 7th grade pill that exceeded an 8th grade pill. Even some low-grade alchemists were dumbstruck, though the 5th grade alchemists and above were fully aware of the reason. There were, in fact, some alchemists who had 100% chance of refining 5th grade pills that could touch upon how to reach the perfect quality. But never, even after they entered the 6th grade, had they achieved it. Thus 6th grade pills were easy to refine, while perfect 5th grade pills were nigh impossible to them. Refining a grade-surpassing pill was a talent among talents. Talent was already needed to become a high-grade alchemist, but for refining a perfect pill one had to be a genius. It was clear Vicious Pill King was such a man. In an instant, the people's image of Vicious Pill King grew exponentially. Vicious Pill King, however, didn't care about such things. His eyes were on one man only. That man was the sole person qualified to make him stake his life in this competition. Following his eyes, the crowd's sight landed on Zhuofan. They now knew why Vicious Pill King went all out in this refining, even risking his life to make a perfect pill. It was all to beat the strongest opponent he ever had. They were all watching Zhuofan, eager to see his reaction. A clash between heavyweights, a match among peak grandmaster alchemists, was a rare occurrence. After today, none may get the chance to see another again. This only worked to raise their spirits higher. Taking a deep breath, Zhuofan began pondering. None disturbed him, either in the deafening silence that ensued. Yet the people's eyes were fixed on Zhuofan, not leaving him for even a blink. With gloom ever present on his face, Huangpu Qingyun's killing intent only grew. The more Zhuofan could grasp the hearts of the people, the more threatened he felt of his authority. He was certain of one thing: Zhuofan had to be dealt with. Long Jiu's group frowned, waiting for Zhuofan's next move. Chu Qingqing and the overseers watched on edge. The strangest thing that happened was Chu Qingqing no longer cared about the prevalent grudge between Pill King Hall and Drifting Flowers edifice. Her mind was solely preoccupied with Zhuofan, of how he would respond to vicious Pill King in this tense atmosphere. Even the crowd forgot this was an alchemy contest, only caring about the match between two peak grandmaster alchemists. It mattered not who won, because they were waiting for the two of them to give them the shock of their lives. After a moment of deep thought, Zhuofan let out a long breath and his face revealed a mysterious grin. So that's how it is. Let's give it a try. Chuckling, he turned to vicious Pill King. Any man who spat blood essence 5 times is bound to die. Old man, you did it 4 times today, which was quite impressive. If I don't get it together and show something special, I would only be insulting you. You are correct. Vicious Pill King grinned fearlessly, and as excited as before. There was nothing more thrilling than seeing one's greatest opponent answering his challenge by going all out. Zhuofan noticed his excitement and chuckled as he walked next to his cauldron with him moving. So did the countless pairs of eyes. Zhuofan was now the center of attention, the life of the party. His every gesture stirring the hearts of many. Russell. He leisurely lit up the fire and snapped his finger. Tens of spirit stones revolved around the cauldron before falling into an intricate and bizarre shape. The people looked at each other dumbly. What is Grandmaster Song doing? Setting an array? What did that have to do with alchemy? Even vicious Pill King, as well as the rest of the alchemists, were clueless of his intention. Since time immemorial, alchemy and arrays never intersected. What was his purpose? Ignoring the baffled audience, Zhuofan's hand made a sign and chanted, "Heaven's gate, earth's locks, open for me. Let thy spiritual energy flood this array. Assist my heavenly fire in opening its eyes. Let spirits and dragons enter this pill." The world quaked, and with it, the Drifting Flowers arena started to rumble. Everyone was rattled, not knowing what was happening right then. Creepy laughter echoed as dark shadows from all directions flew towards Zhuofan and revolved above his head. Then they slammed into the core of the array at the same time. Dragon roars echoed and dragon images flew from the core of the array, under the gobsmacked faces of everyone. When the world stopped shaking, the shadows were gone and the sky was crowded by 9 dragon images. Zhuofan snapped his finger and threw an azure flame into the cauldron. The dragons seemed elated as they flew around agog before slamming inside the cauldron in a blink. A deeper dragon roar was heard and an azure fire dragon burst out of the cauldron. It was then followed by the other 8. The azure fire inside the cauldron was now gone, absorbed by the dragons. With his eyes flashing, Zhuofan grinned as his hands danced. Hundreds of ingredients took to the sky at that moment. Secret Pill Array, Cradle returning dragons. Zhuofan shouted and the 9 fire dragons responded with a roar before flying into the ingredients floating about. Chapter 153 Dragon Transformation Array. Chapter 153 Dragon Transformation Array. Boom! The thunderous roars rang in people's eardrums. It then followed with a resplendent light, so glaring that they couldn't open their eyes. Once the light died out and the 9 dragons' roars passed, all the ingredients were gone from the sky. But under closer attention, one could see that the 9 fire dragons had changed. Within their body made of azure flames, a line coursed through them like a blood vessel, but instead of blood, it was flowing with the ingredients' extracts, instant refining. The people watched Zhuofan incredulously. They recalled Zhuofan's 9th heaven, Roaring Dragon Claw, with which he instantly refined 3rd-grade pill ingredient. But he had now achieved the same result with hundreds of 7th-grade pill ingredients. Such speed raised his refining skill to another level of comprehension. Even vicious Pill King had to admit, he could not accomplish such a feat otherwise. He wouldn't have taken this bone-tempering brat as his strongest adversary. This was just the start of everyone's shock. The greatest awe was how the 9 dragons had different colored mixtures flowing through them. Zhuofan just up and separated the ingredients in the instant they were refined. Speed refining seemed simple, but it touched upon one's control over the ingredients and his flame. A stronger flame would ruin the ingredient while a weak one wouldn't refine them. Regarding the difficulty of control, each successive ingredient grade would be like vaulting heaven. This was the wall that had so many alchemists standing before it, unable to advance. Zhuofan's instant refining needed absolute control, which was even harder. Not even Vicious Pill King could do it. Zhuofan not only did it but went a level further in his control, separating the hundreds of ingredients into 9 types. This was something Vicious Pill King didn't think was possible. Some pills, especially poisons, needed the extracts divided, followed by careful mixing. The Pill King Hall's poison palm was no exception. It turned refining into a very precise task, with every ingredient refined independently. One blunder would add impurities and ruin the batch. Yet Zhuofan refined 9 types of ingredients in a flash. Such accuracy was something the audience could not even begin to fathom, and this was what got Vicious Pill King so overwhelmed. How did the world give birth to such a mystical refining skill and such an outstanding genius alchemist? Who? As Vicious Pill King had known, this step was the hardest when making pills. Even Zhuofan couldn't help but let out a breath when this step was completed. The perceptive Xiao Ye knew Zhuofan was at a crucial step and didn't disturb him. Now that he relaxed, she couldn't rein in her curiosity any longer. Grandmaster Song, what was that secret skill? It is no lie to say that it shook the world. Ha ha ha, a mere pill array, a simple little array to help in refining. Zhuofan chuckled and turned to Vicious Pill King. His provocation, however, was loud enough for everyone to hear him. For a high-grade pill to become a grade-surpassing pill, it has to have spirituality. Using blood essence to make the heaven and earth spirit flame spirituality, instill a spirit into the pill is one way. But that's too dangerous. If all alchemists did it, 9 out of 10 would die. Truly idiotic. Vicious Pill King's eyelid twitched, feeling the naked irony within. This brat was teaching him a lesson. Like a senior teaching his juniors. This stung him hard, but Zhuofan's words were correct. Vicious Pill King would have never braved such danger if he was but a greenhorn alchemist. Then, did you also instill spirituality into the pill, Grandmaster Song? Xiao Ye asked in awe while looking at the 9 majestic dragons nodding. Zhuofan had a cocksure grin. Spirituality is instilled only by pouring heaven and earth spirituality into the pill. A heaven and earth spirit flame has such a property, albeit incomplete. The soul of a heaven and earth spirit flame is merely formed over millions of years within the earth by accumulating the spirits of the earth. Just take out the spirits and you can instill spirituality. Does that mean those gray shadows were the spirits of the earth? Correct. Spirits are all around us, just that they do not persist for long, nor do they have awareness. The locations of the 7 houses were chosen with dense spiritual energy in mind. A place like that gives birth to many spirits, but not just anyone can find them. Chuckling, Zhuofan pointed at the array. In the long-forgotten past, alchemy and array were one specialty. But as there were many different sects, alchemy and arrays diverged, to the point many ancient arrays are lost. The array that I set up today is the Ancient Dragon Transformation Array. It draws the spirits around and transforms them into dragon spirit. Not a true dragon, mind you, but one containing just a hint of a true dragon spirit's might. A striking difference from a heaven and earth spirit flame's spirituality formed over millions of years. Despite the shock they were in, Zhuofan's words brought them further amazement. They had endless admiration for him. This pill array was in no ancient book. Moreover, no one had heard of it either. But Grandmaster Song not only had vast and widespread knowledge about all aspects but even grasped the intricacies of a pill refining array. Considering all the secret refining skills he displayed today, there might not be a second one like him in the entire continent, least of all this empire and exalted of alchemy. Vicious Pill King couldn't be clearer on this. However, he still clung on to a thread of hope. He may have lost in terms of refining skills, but he won over Zhuofan in terms of cultivation. The possibility of victory was still there. Zhuofan chuckled, as if in response to Vicious Pill King's thoughts. Zhuofan's eyes flashed and his hand signs changed. The 9 fire dragons roared and whipped their tails in the center of the array boom. With an earth-shattering noise, the 9 tails collided. They broke off from the dragons and crumbled down into flames that ultimately mixed together with another roar. The flame burst into 9 dragonlings. These dragonlings' blood vessels were of the same color, flowing azure. The erudite found it incredulous how Zhuofan refined the 9 concoctions into a single mix in an instant refining again. A moment of extreme importance, one that required perfect control, was done in a blink. This got even those Grandmaster alchemists peeved. Grandmaster Song, your refining skill is great and all, but can you please tone it down? Are you doing all the hard steps so casually just so you can rub our faces in it? Would it hurt to take at least a second while doing it? They were all in envy and depression over the might of such an exotic refining skill. Roar. The 9 tailless fire dragons roared and charged to the center of the array. This time head-first boom. As before, the 9 tailless dragons blended into a sea of fire. The next moment, another 9 dragonlings emerged from the blaze, and just as the first 9 dragonlings, these had the same azure bloodstream. 18 roaring dragonlings were truly an impressive spectacle. Haha, time to wrap it up. Squinting, Zhuofan's hand flashed and a small bottle appeared. He opened it, releasing a soothing smell filled with vitality Bodhi Jade sap. With trembling eyes, the Grandmaster alchemists watched Zhuofan in shock and puzzlement. They all knew Bodhi Jade sap was Drifting Flowers Edifice's treasure. So how did it end up in Grandmaster Song's deft hands? Was he Drifting Flowers Edifice's? It all started to make sense. But even so, the shock was immense. Where did Drifting Flowers Edifice find this exalted Grandmaster Song? In today's alchemy competition, he smacked the face of Pill King Hall. For no less than 100 times the structure of Tianyu's alchemy system was going to change. Pill King Hall was no longer at the top. Such a change had countless implications. It was a known fact that Pill King Hall was the imperial family's pill supplier. If they weren't the best in Tianyu, why would the imperial family buy from them? People started to draw conclusions. Drifting Flowers Edifice's 100 Pill meeting was a platform for Pill King Hall to show off their own skills, but how could the ordinary masses have known? Behind the scenes, Vicious Pill King alone had almost driven the entire Drifting Flowers Edifice to collapse. Meanwhile, Zhuofan was not even specifically invited by the Drifting Flowers Edifice to deal with Pill King Hall's Vicious Pill King. If the masses had known, they would most likely have the same expression as those from Drifting Flowers Edifice. The 2 overseers were smiling. Zhuofan might not have been invited by them, but he was, nonetheless, Drifting Flowers Edifice's son-in-law. With Zhuofan at the helm, Pill King Hall would be held in check. Chu Qingqing was thinking the same thing. She was rejoicing that her rash action proved to be a choice with incredible implications towards better. Only Zhuofan begged to differ. He was only doing what he had to. Chapter 154 Transcending Pill King. Chapter 154 Transcending Pill King. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Let the dragons feast. Perfect the pill. Zhuofan's shout was followed by a vigorous shake of the hand, sending 18 drops of Bodhi Jade sap into the air. The 18 dragonlings acted like cats catching the smell of fish, nabbing a drop each. Roar. As the dragonlings roared, their body dissolved into azure flames, followed by their heads, and leaving a ball of azure fire. Then the fire scattered to reveal upon the world a shining azure pill. It released a soothing smell, gripping the hearts of everyone there. What grade is it to have such an astonishing effect? The people stared unblinking at the 18 dancing pills. These pills had yet to renounce their dragonic nature, roaring as they traveled the sky. All 18 of them were clearly alive. What got people so distraught was that while Vicious Pill King nearly gave his life to make just one, Zhuofan flipped his hand and there went 18 of them dancing across the sky. This feeling was something words weren't enough to describe. Just how many times did one need to surpass Vicious Pill King's skill to breach this gap? There was no need for judging at this point. Everyone was dead set that Zhuofan was the winner. And this time, his victory was perfect, incontestable, thoroughly crushing the opposition. Taking a small bottle, Zhuofan waved for the 18 pills. He put them inside without even letting Xiao Ye take a single peek. Xiao Ye was alarmed. Grandmaster Song, the pills you refined. No need to see them. Zhuofan cut her off with a shake of his head. He turned to the dumbstruck and collapsed Vicious Pill King and muttered, "I won." Pure confidence. The whole crowd watched the calm and proud Zhuofan with a sense of awe. They looked at him as if he was their sole king. His cocky and obnoxious attitude came back in full force as well, making them all bend their knees. In alchemy, I am the first. Who dares claim my throne? Zhuofan stood there, quietly, giving the Grandmaster alchemists a whole new meaning to how small they felt. He was a true Pill King. A Pill King with unquestionable authority. Xiao Ye was the closest to Zhuofan. She bore the brunt of his aura, but was fast to recover also. Grandmaster Song, I'm convinced you have gone beyond mere winning. But please, explain to us, what grade are they? 18 pills, all of perfect 8th grade quality. Zhuofan deadpanned. The crowd erupted in surprise. The Grandmaster alchemists knew he exceeded their imagination, but never knew the full extent of it. How sheerly unbelievable it all was. Vicious Pill King could refine a perfect 7th grade pill, and he was already at the peak of his skill when people saw the 18 pills. Despite the shock, they only went as far as thinking Zhuofan refined them as perfect 7th grade pills. It was more than enough to surpass Vicious by many times, but this little prick went even further beyond anyone's guess. He not only surpassed him but went a full grade above perfect 8th grade pill. That was something not even a 10th grade alchemist could accomplish consistently, least of all 18 of them in one breath. Such heaven-defying skill was only mentioned in legends, hearsay. How could it ever be a reality, here and now? This cheeky little prick was that much of a monster. They shouted at him in their hearts, but they could not hide the sheer admiration and respect they held for his incredible refining ability. Vicious Pill King himself was floored. His green hair became white under the naked eye. He aged dozens of years in just one breath. It was an astonishing defeat. Vicious Pill King never had suffered such a thorough and complete loss. It left him with no chance of a comeback. This Pill King had discovered today that his refining ability was nothing when faced with a true expert. The despair, the grief, was harder to bear than even death. Yen Fu watched his master's loss with a pained heart. He flicked a glare at Zhuofan, but all he could do was gnash his teeth. This brat is too damn strong. Master was never his match, and I will never get the chance to catch up to him either. As there was a man beyond the next, so was a sky beyond another. It was such an apt description that no one could refute it. He took Master as his role model. Acting as brash as him, thinking his master was the best alchemist in the world. But then came the day his master was defeated, hopeless of even taking revenge. Such a gap was no different from a chasm. Tao Danyang ought to be going wild with joy seeing Yen Song's crushed spirit. But it never came. Every new wave drove higher than its predecessor, who died on the sandy beach. Didn't Yen Song's defeat mark the end of their generation of Grandmaster alchemists? The world was going to be tumultuous. A warrior of the new generation was already standing on their corpses, breaking the grounds of a new age. Turning to Zhuofan next to her, Tao Danyang was grateful fortune helped them to have him as drifting flowers edifices. Long Jiu and the rest watched it all with a sigh. God damn it, this prick sure knows how to act. He said it wasn't clear that he could lose against Vicious Pill King. And the end result? Not only did he win, but got a freaking perfect win. And not just a perfect win, but crushed him thoroughly. Zitian couldn't help cursing to high heavens despite the shock. For God's sake, just look at Vicious Pill King. He got his life scared out of him by that brat, even I feel sorry for him. Long Jiu nodded gravely. The brat is beyond ruthless. He won't let the other have anything left. A single perfect 8th grade pill was more than enough to win it by a landslide, but he went as far as to make 17 more, striking a fatal blow to Vicious Pill King. I fear he might never recover from this trauma for as long as he lived. You're speaking of a heart demon? Zitian raised an eyebrow nodding. Long Jiu's eyes flashed. Even without it, he may never get to refine a high-grade pill in his life. That brat's vicious retribution leaves everyone in dread. They all had to nod at that. Then the Pill King of this 100-pill meeting is. As the crowd raved, Xiaoya pointed at Zhuofan while shouting. Before she could finish, however, quick steps were heard approaching. Zhuofan was slowly and calmly walking towards the center stage. Xiaoya was startled. Grandmaster Song, what? Only I have the right to declare myself as Pill King. Throwing that casual sentence, Zhuofan didn't even look at her and walked past her. The crowd was in awe again. He has the aura of a king. He is without a doubt this generation's Pill King. Xiaoya suddenly forgot she was the judge here and blushed a bit. She was so lost in Zhuofan's flair that she forgot to do her job. Zitian sighed enviously. He is an expert at putting on airs. When will I get the chance to do the same, I wonder? Just one time is all I ask. Under the chaotic shouts from all around him, Zhuofan arrived before the stage. He swallowed when he saw the wooden box and a weight fell off his heart. Chu Qingtian, wearing your cloak up to this point, I can rest at ease to say that I have returned your sister's debt. Zhuofan let his cloak fall and walked on stage. The people were struck into silence. They saw the cloak spread on the steps of the stage and the words on it and were moved, heaven-toppling pill. It all started with a murmur, but it soon grew into an ear-splitting roar. They all started to pump their fist and join, heaven-toppling pill, heaven-toppling pill, heaven-toppling pill. Indeed, Pill King was far beneath a man of Zhuofan's caliber. In their hearts, only this title, heaven-toppling pill, was fit to Grandmaster Song's genius. Chu Qingqing covered her mouth, her eyes flowing with tears. The people acclaimed Zhuofan as heaven-toppling pill, but it was in fact Chu Qingtian's wish. Zhuofan had taken her little brother's place and fulfilled his cherished wish. Her eyes on him now contained an even deeper love. Vicious Pill King was in a daze as he heard the roars and looked at the 4 words on the stage's steps. He seemed to be both crying and laughing. Heaven-toppling pill. I never thought there was a man in this world who'd use these words. Qingtian, I have lost today at his hands and yours. Vicious Pill King seemed to have lost it. But his eyes seemed to have realized something as they got clearer. Taking a deep breath, Zhuofan was cool, despite the turmoil banging his ears. He did not look at the cloak again. As it had no more sway on him, he did what he had to. He paid the favor he owed, and now followed with his true objective. Zhuofan's eyes turned colder and reached for the wooden box on the pedestal, but with a sudden sound, a golden fist caught him off guard. Punk, you are far from worthy of taking the Bodhi route. Watch out! Chu Qingqing paled at the danger he was facing, but her warning came too late. The iron fist struck Zhuofan square in the chest. Zhuofan's eyes suddenly turned vicious. His act as Song Yu was done. Now it was time for the demonic emperor, Zhuofan, to re-enter the scene. Chapter 155, True Demon Revealed. Chapter 155, True Demon Revealed. Whoosh! Zhuofan vanished the next moment. Huangpu Qingyun's heart was in distress. How could a bone-tempering kid escape his sneak attack? Thunder rolled and Huangpu Qingyun's heart froze, Feeling danger creeping up on him, his only reaction was a slight tilt of his head. Whoosh! A flash of lightning streaked past his face, drawing blood. Huangpu Qingyun's forehead was soaked with sweat. He had a keen danger sense, otherwise his head would have rolled off his shoulders. Bam! He may have avoided the killing blow, but a hammer blow shot into his belly. He felt pain down to his marrow, as if a cannon shot at him with a rumble. He flew back and created a 3-meter-wide hole in the Drifting Flowers arena wall. It all happened in a blink. It was unclear how he was even attacked, only to ultimately end up through the wall. The snicker on those on the eastern stand froze. What was going on? How did Huangpu Qingyun lose when he was the one with greater power, when he was the one at the advantage? His opponent was but a bone-tempering kid. Aghast, the people looked towards the center stage, only to feel their faces twitching. Zhuofan was standing there in all his glory, with the lightning wings flickering behind him. His leg was still high up, the clear reason behind Huangpu Qingyun's setback. Those wings, could they be Zhuofan? Hell Valley's fifth elder gnashed his teeth in malice. His eyes filled with killing intent. This was unbelievable to the crowd. They once heard of this demon Zhuofan and the sensations he stirred. Of his lightning wings and his ruthless savagery. Who could have seen it coming? The one to defeat vicious Pill King 4 times, the one to transcend the title of Pill King, heaven-toppling Pill, the same Grandmaster song, was in fact the one and only Zhuofan. Even Chu Qingqing and Drifting Flowers Edifice's people were in a state of shock. That vile and deceitful demon of a man was in fact the pig-headed, blunt, and oafish Song Yu. They had absolutely nothing in common. Or more aptly put, Zhuofan's performance was so convincing, he got everyone dancing his tune. Did you know he was Zhuofan all along? Peony Overseer asked Long Jio's group, nodding. Long Jio stroked his beard with a chuckle. Indeed. And our friendship with the kid isn't shallow either. What will you do now? Are you going to join him in fighting Hell Valley and Regent Estate? Iris Overseer frowned in worry. They all saw Huangpu Qingyun's power. Now that he had 3 other houses helping him, they were out of their depths. But that wasn't the worst part. This was a turning point. Once they joined this fight, the damage was done, and the 7-house war would erupt. With how precarious Drifting Flowers Edifice's state was, their end was guaranteed. They did not want to see it come to pass. However, Hell Valley's #1 offender, Zhuofan, came out of the closet. Now the 7 houses were split in sticking for Zhuofan or wishing to kill him. Drifting Flowers Edifice held a grudge against the party who wished to kill Zhuofan. Therefore, they could not join them. On the other hand, Zhuofan's side was the weakest, doomed to fail. Iris Overseer and Peony Overseer were in anguish, on the verge of tears. You got smacked again and again so many times before, but why do you appear now, in front of so many people? Woes, in front of your enemies. Why are you making it so hard on us? Drifting Flowers Edifice never offended you, so why are you looking to harm us? Xie Tianyang could guess what they were thinking and gestures dismissively. Don't you worry now. There's no need to join this miserable battle. We plan on sitting back as well. You won't help him? Peony Overseer was puzzled and glad. Puzzled since he always said he and Zhuofan went through thick and thin together, but not willing to help him now when it matters. Glad since they could play innocent. Since no one was going to help him, then Drifting Flowers Edifice needn't bother themselves with other people's problems. However, seeing them so callous, Xiao Dandan was fuming mad. Humph, and you call yourselves brothers while afraid to lend a hand when it matters. If you won't help him, I will. Xiao Dandan just started running when Peony Overseer dragged her back. Don't go cause trouble, missy. That Zhuofan has a vile reputation. Who knows what he was planning while hiding in Drifting Flower City? Why are you still treating him like your husband? And how come you're more infatuated than before? Drifting Flower City cussed. Xiao Dandan felt chagrined. Master, I finally found a good man and I just can't sit by and watch him die. Miss Dandan is so virtuous. Worthy of me calling you sister-in-law. Zitian giggled. Don't you worry your pretty little head. This is all part of that brat's master plan. He even warned us not to get involved and to believe in him to see this through to the end. What? Is this true? Or are you just saying this to shift the blame and pull the wool over my eyes? Dandon suspected him. The others laughed with a shake of their heads, and even Peony Overseer felt bitter. Foolish girl, who do you think they are? If people of the 7 houses say they won't go save him, then that's what they'll do. Why would they go and lie to a lass? Seeing her suspicion not in the least dispelled, Long Kuei let out a disarming giggle. Lady Dandon, that brat didn't want us to interfere, afraid that Regent Estate would target us and affect the rise of his clan. Which reminds me, this is all part of a selfish aim of his. Why would a ruthless and devious savage such as him show kindness otherwise? Why would he burden himself with the lives of others otherwise? This brings me back to the chaos that happened in Windgaze City between us and Hell Valley. He took advantage of the turmoil and killed 2 of their elders, while making us take the fall. You are not allowed to speak ill of my husband. Can't you see it's all because of his intelligence? Dandon cut her off with an irritated tone, shaking her head. Long Kuei remained silent. What's so good about him anyway? What got this grown-up lady so delusional over him? Ignoring her martial niece, Iris Overseer looked at Zhuofan, then at Long Jiu. Uncle Jiu, you say that he wants to carry this by himself. But how is a bone-tempering cultivator able to deal with 4 houses ganging up on him and flee with his life? Will you intervene if his death is certain? Long Jiu paused for a long time, then nodded with unyielding conviction. Yes, he is the brother I believe in without question. I as well. I owe him a debt. Xie Tianyang grinned, then chuckled at the tall figure in the arena. However, we are probably overthinking things. He got this in the bag. What? He can actually escape under the eyes of 4 experts? Peony Overseer jolted. That would make him, just as the rumors spoke of, a freak. These 4 are renowned figures of the profound heaven stage. Ha ha ha, he is without a doubt a freak. Xie Tianyang laughed. I also do not know if he can escape, but I know from his fight with Yu-Giki. He is no oaf. As long as he set his mind on something, he will see it through to the end. They all had to nod at this and returned to watch the events unfold. Crash. With a burst, Huangpu Qinyun flew out of the rubble. There was dust all over him, but otherwise, not a scratch on him. He, however, knew full well how his belly hurt. Feeling his belly carefully, Huangpu Qinyun watched the winged Zhuofan solemnly. He underestimated him for having a bone-tempering cultivation, but in fact, Zhuofan's speed wasn't the only one transcending stages. His body's power too. As a fellow body cultivator, Huangpu Qinyun knew how difficult Zhuofan could be. What surpassed this, however, was the shock of finding someone with a more savage body cultivation method than Regent Estate's Imperial Tyrant body art. Easing his leg down, Zhuofan's face was ever the same, calm and unfeeling. He opened the wooden box in his hands and breathed in deeply. The root was finally his. Grinning from ear to ear, Zhuofan put the box away and ignored the flabbergasted looks of everyone as he turned his attention to 100-pill meeting. Second young master, didn't you say something about being unworthy of Bodhi root? Ha ha ha, as you well know, as the pill king of this 100-pill meeting, I am rightfully entitled to it. You little shit, you won't live enough to enjoy it. Huangpu Qingyun's eyes exploded with killing intent. Shrugging, Zhuofan chuckled a retort. If yours truly took it, I am least afraid of someone taking it from me. Whoosh! With a sudden sound, Hell Valley's 5th elder flashed not 10 meters from him. He glared. Punk, you're that Zhuofan who killed 7th elder. Don't even think of denying it. Many from Hell Valley saw those same lightning wings when you committed the crime. When did I ever say the contrary? Then again, who else out there is brazen enough to openly steal what one of the 7 houses covet? Zhuofan's face slowly changed to his original appearance despite knowing it was coming. The crowd was still filled with panic. Zhuofan's face was the same one on Hell Valley's kill order. The crowd devolved into chaos as each ran which way the fight between the killer of Hell Valley's mastermind, Yugiki, Zhuofan and their fifth elder was not something these first, second and third-rate clans would dare involve themselves in if by some disaster, they would get killed from a stray attack. They wouldn't even have time to lament despite such fears. They couldn't help feeling sorry for the magnificent heaven-toppling Pill, Grandmaster song, ending up to be the demon Zhuofan under the seven houses encirclement. The only ending was with one's head on a pike regardless if he was the demon Zhuofan or the freak Zhuofan. How could either of them escape from the seven houses entrapment? Chapter 156, Savage Like a Tiger. Chapter 156, Savage Like a Tiger. Chu Qingqing's thoughts aligned with the rest. She gazed upon the changing yet unmistakably proud face with incertitude. Zhuofan had lied to her from the start, yet he did not once do something to disappoint her. It turned out that with his intervention, all the crises were laid before her, unraveled, waiting for her to solve them with ease. She came to believe that she and Drifting Flowers' edifice owed him. Now there was no reason for her to hold back from helping him avoid the danger he was in. However, that only applied if he was anyone but Zhuofan. After all, he killed Hell Valley's seventh elder. If she chose to stand up for him, Hell Valley would soon be knocking with a war on her door. Regent Estate and Pill King Hall would never miss the golden opportunity either. Thus marking the end of Drifting Flowers' edifice. She was deep in thought for a while before coming to a decision. Chu Qingqing gnashed her teeth and her eyes shined with conviction as she took a simple step. Death is nothing, since today is Drifting Flowers' edifice's judgment day. Without this man's help, vicious Pill King would have gripped the whole of Drifting Flowers' edifice in a mere 2 days. Rather than struggle on death's door, ending alongside the man she admired with a bang didn't seem like a bad way to go. Chu Qingqing's gait became firm and nodded at Tao Danyang. Aunt Tao. Clear on her intention, Tao Danyang sighed as she grew resolute as well. But right then, one red and one blue silk ribbon held them tight before lifting them on the terrace. I knew you two were foolish, but thankfully I managed to stop you. Peony Overseer and Iris Overseer released the ribbons and sighed. Xie Tianyang then rushed to explain Zhuofan's intentions. The two were alarmed, unable to comprehend how a bone-tempering cultivator could face 4 profound heaven experts. It was impossible even to a freak like him. Shrugging, Xie Tianyang sighed. I've fulfilled my end and told you of his wishes. If you still wish to be reckless, all you'll be doing is ruining his plan. His anger will be on you. Let's see him dare get angry at me, Chu Qingqing shouted. But soon, she realized this was not the time for casual bickering. With a rotten smile, Xie Tianyang spoke in circles. Edifice Lord Chu, you have no idea of the extent of that brat's retribution. By the time you find out, you'll be left in tears. Hee hee. Chu Qingqing watched the arena mystified. At the same time, Huangpu Qinyun and Zhuofan turned towards the terrace as if in sync. Huangpu Qinyun was worried Chu Qingqing would stick out for Zhuofan. He didn't want to fight her, and now he could finally put this worry to rest. Meanwhile, Zhuofan was even more concerned. If Chu Qingqing stood up, his plan would go up in smoke. 2 rivals were actually willing to pause over a woman. Brat, it's time you pay for my 7th brother's misery with your life. Suddenly, Hell Valley's 5th elder charged Zhuofan. His body exploded with power and ignited into a scarlet flame as he swung at Zhuofan. The fist was filled with rage and thrown in haste, but it kicked up a storm. Zhuofan couldn't even breathe from its power, as if a mountain was crushing him. 5th layer of profound heaven stage, and a body cultivator too. His pupils contracting, he although had an inkling of the man's power, it exceeded his expectations. Despite being a profound heaven expert as well, he was in a different league from Yugiki. Zhuofan weighed it thoroughly and came to the conclusion he was far from this man's match in body power, but everyone has a shortcoming. Your flesh might be steel, but I have 2 blades behind me." With savagery in his eyes, Zhuofan stood his ground. The lightning wings warped into sickles and attacked Fifth Elder. One hacked the flaming fist, the other his face. Zhuofan was willing to accept this heavy wound if it meant the death of his opponent. Seeing the incoming sickle, Fifth Elder stomped. With an explosion, he stopped in his tracks and flew backward. The wings missed, and with a boom, a 5-meter hole was left behind. 3 meters from Fifth Elder. Wisps of black smoke drifted above the hole. Feeling the icy sweat trickling down his head, Fifth Elder expression turned grave. He no longer charged recklessly. He now knew how Yu-Giki met his end. This brat is too vicious. Not only to his enemies, but even to himself. It may look advantageous exchanging a wound for a kill, but he would open himself to others. A pig ready to be slaughtered to make such a savage decision in a split second showed how cunning and ruthless he was. The Fifth Elder was beginning to worry about the upcoming battle. What if the brat up and chose to take them both down? Such an ending would be meaningless. The worried people on the terrace watched in shock. Is this the rumored demon Zhuofan? He is indeed a monstrosity. Yet, the women from Drifting Flowers edifice came to find he was sporting one hell of a domineering air in this state, where Zhuofan was the weakest in terms of cultivation and number. He exuded the aura of the strongest, one who looked down on others with pride, while Huangpu Qingyun's team, the one with higher cultivation and number, was bleak and distressed. Their stance looked to be the weakest of the 2 sides. The previous exchange between Fifth Elder and Zhuofan was the perfect example. Zhuofan was willing to bet his life, while Fifth Elder wasn't quite up to terms with staking his life on one strike. It ended as it played, with Fifth Elder terrified and Zhuofan winning. I was the one to attack first but ended up scared by his sickles. How mortifying! This is how a man should be, brave. I finally found a real man. How great that he is also my husband. Xiao Dandan was love-struck. With only him in her ever-infatuated eyes, Chu Qingqing shook her head but was feeling her fair share of growing feelings as well. Yes, this is how my husband should be, an undefeated hero. In the arena, Fifth Elder was aware of the humiliation. He was pissed, but he stayed put. Zhuofan grinned and placed the Bodhi root in his thunder ring. Yours truly shall no longer entertain you, but bye. Zhuofan punctuated with a stomp and took flight. His wings shot him high in the sky. Where do you think you're going? Snorting, Fifth Elder stomped as well, chasing after him. In mere seconds, he overtook Zhuofan. Zhuofan, however, expected this, and the lightning wings shifted into whips as they lashed at him. Get lost. Humph, you little prick. You think you're the only one with demonic treasures. Fifth Elder had come prepared. His hand suddenly held an enormous scarlet hammer. He used both his hands to swing it at Zhuofan. If you've got the guts, let's see you bet your life again. A 5th-grade demonic treasure. Zhuofan gnashed his teeth and shifted his wings into shields with the enemy. Having a 5th-grade demonic treasure, exchanging a wound for a life was impossible now. His life might be the one to perish first. Bam! Zhuofan smashed into the ground like a meteor, picking up a cloud of dust. When it cleared, it revealed the crumbled stage. Chu Qingqing and the others were alarmed. Xiao Dandan even jumped to search for his body, but Peony Overseer caught her before she could do it. Long Jio's group was looking grave. Hell Valley's 5th Elder was a body cultivator. If this hammer strike hadn't outright killed Zhuofan, it would definitely leave a mark. If the situation worsened, they would have no choice but offend Regent Estate and join the fight. 5th Elder floated down and smashed the ground with his hammer, making the earthquake 3 times. Huangpu Qingyun eyed the ruins, then the proud 5th Elder, and cackled. Ha ha ha, 5th Elder is indeed Hell Valley's expert body cultivator. Your art is as strong as Regent Estate's Imperial Tyrant body art. You're too kind, second young master. Ha ha ha. 5th Elder faked modesty. He had always been confident of his body cultivation method. Huangpu Qingyun's words of praises made his heart pump with pride. Huangpu Qingyun turned to the ruins again with a chuckle. With 5th Elder's strength, That brat must be close to dying if not dead already. Could I ask a favor from Fifth Elder? If he's still alive, allow me to exact revenge for your valley's Seventh Elder. Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with naked killing intent. Fifth Elder knew he was after this all along and didn't hurt earning his favor over such a small matter. He laughed. Others are unworthy, but if it's the second young master's request, please do not hesitate to do it. But I would like to return to Hell Valley with his head. I will never forget Fifth Elder's dutiful act. Huangpu Qingyun then walked towards the ruins with killing intent. Since ancient times, one mountain wasn't big enough for two tigers. This is your fate, that I will wring the life out of you to ease my heart. Chu Qingqing's group stared in anxiety and worry that he would kill Zhuofan. Uncle Jiu, do we attack? Chu Qingqing asked impatiently, but Long Jiu's lone eye stared at the ruins, still ruminating. This only worked to add more pressure on Chu Qingqing. Chapter 157 Cunning like a Fox. Chapter 157 Cunning like a Fox. Humph, if you won't go, I will. Chu Qingqing had reached her limit again, flicking her sleeve as she rushed to save him. Long Jiu and his group helplessly followed after her, but an explosion stopped them before they could intervene. Huangpu Qingyun was right at the edge of the crumbled stage when it shot into the air. A black figure flashed and a foot slammed Huangpu Qingyun's cheek. Huangpu Qingyun flew for dozens of meters and was now seeing stars. The black figure was far from finished, flickering behind Huangpu Qingyun and hacked with two thunderous axes for his head. Huangpu Qingyun was too caught up to even know what was happening before finding himself face to face with death. Watch out, second young master. Hell Valley's Fifth Elder swung his two fists to help him, but the figure already retreated when the black figure stopped. It was unmistakably Zhuofan. Zhuofan had blood flowing from his mouth and sporting an infuriated expression, only surpassed by the killing intent in his eyes. Damn it, so close and I would have had that punk's life. Zhuofan spat blood and barked at Huangpu Qingyun. Huangpu Qingyun was overwhelmed and his body broke out in cold sweat. This goddamn prick is too deceitful. He faked death among the ruble so that I would get close enough to kill me. If not for Fifth timely rescue, I would have been a goner. Huangpu Qingyun grew more roiled, but feeling more appalled than ever. Chu Qingqing's side was wild with joy. Zhuofan looked as fine as ever, with hardly enough to be called wounded. Well damn. I always took the rumor of him being a freak as nothing more than a jest. But 2 years after we last saw each other, this brat's hard-headedness reached a whole new level. With how strong Hell Valley's Fifth Elder's body was, even Veiled Dragon Pavilion's Third Elder would want to avoid fighting him. They have come to blows many times over the years but always ended in a tie. How is it that this brat is pitch perfect after getting a smack from his hammer? He is an abomination. Long Jiu said suddenly to Xie Tianyang, "Kid, didn't you see him last time? Just when did he get that freakish?" Shrugging, Xie Tianyang felt downcast. Who knew it would all happen overnight? From the 6th layer of qi condensation, where he could beat even bone-tempering experts, he suddenly changed to the bone-tempering freak who killed Yu Giki. Overnight? They all smacked their lips. What baffling skill did the brat use to become so dreadful? But then they recalled how he changed overnight when the Luo clan was in crisis at that time as well. And now he did it again, this time gaining an unbreakable body. Brother, just how much are you hiding for your dear older brother? Long Jiu sighed as the rest watched Zhuofan in amazement. This kid was a true monster. Not only his alchemy ability was top-notch, but he was well versed in other aspects as well. Unaware of his dear older brother, Long Jiu, labeling him a monster, Zhuofan spat another mouthful of blood as he watched the appalled Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder. God-damned old fart. Your hammer almost snapped my rib. But you at least managed to shake my organs a bit and give me a slight wound. Hell Valley? Fine then, Hell Valley's old Fifth, I'll remember this debt. With a twitching face, Zhuofan spat the words with great rancor. Yet, why did it sound more like a mockery than anything else? A grand fifth-layer profound heaven bone cultivator's hammer blow couldn't kill a bone-tempering cultivator, when it would turn any normal profound heaven expert to mush. Not even Veiled Dragon Pavilion's third elder dared to take on his hammer. The least was a serious wound and worst, death, but this punk didn't even get a rib cracked, nor sported the slightest wound. Just who the hell is this brat? Fifth elder had regarded Zhuofan highly from the start. At least at Yugiki's level, since he managed to kill him. But he now realized how sorely mistaken he was. This punk is a monster through and through. His body is nigh unbreakable. Thank the fates he's not in the profound heaven stage and can't use his body to its full advantage. Spatting, fifth elder turned grave. Zhuofan secretly laughed, having figured out what was on his mind. This was the best time to flee. And he did just that, without any useless words, just fled. The grave fifth elder jolted and cursed inside as he rushed to block him. Think I'm a fool to let you walk away after you cursed me? You won't get the chance. You won't live to make my life miserable. He was indeed a profound heaven expert, catching up in an instant and swinging his hammer on Zhuofan again, but Zhuofan was prepared this time. Grinning, his lightning wings deflected the hammer and rushed towards the fifth elder. Fifth elder was in glee. Zhuofan may have dodged the blow, but coming closer, couldn't be better. Fifth elder let go of the hammer and smashed his fist towards Zhuofan's face. The blow packed enough power to at least break a few bones this time, but Zhuofan kept his cool, even snickering. He lightly stepped, mystifying phantom step. Zhuofan vanished into thin air and popped behind fifth elder. Fifth elder had no idea what occurred while Zhuofan used this chance to flee. Kid, you won't get away that easy. Suddenly, Huangpu Qingyun appeared and blocked his escape. Zhuofan frowned and felt vexation get to him. I so want to take him down a peg, but this is not the time. They were both body cultivators, but with one stage gap. Brawling would be detrimental to Zhuofan. Moreover, it would also slow down his speed if he were to use the lightning wings to fend off his opponent. Afterwards, the fifth elder would rush over during the gap and make matters worse. With no alternative, Zhuofan used mystifying phantom step again to escape Huangpu Qingyun. Huangpu Qingyun stood dumbly in midair. What's with this strange art? He never saw anything remotely resembling it. However, to the dismay of the ones on the terrace, a blue figure flashed over, curbing Zhuofan's escape with a boom. He was kicked back before he could figure out how it happened. He hit the ground so hard, a wave of dust formed. The messy Zhuofan clawed back to his feet. He felt his sore face as he looked coldly. Fifth elder and Huangpu Qingyun took one side around him, as did the blue figure. Zhuofan snickering at him. The kick was fast, but hardly powerful. It turns out to be an elder from Merry Woods. The one to get a leg up on Zhuofan was none other than Lin Zitian. Taking a quick look at Vicious Pill King, he found him too drained to join in the fight. Huangpu Qingyun and fifth elder were tough but had no way to counter Zhuofan's eerie movements, thus making Merry Woods' speed the only way to bring the brat down a peg. Lin Zitian thought, fortune favors the bold. He made sure to kick back this monstrosity to win the greatest credit. Unbeknownst to him, that kick shot him straight through the gates of hell. Elder Lin, well done. I will remember this later. Huangpu Qingyun was vexed by Zhuofan's erratic movements, but now only Lin Zitian could keep him here, so Huangpu Qingyun flattered him, picking up on the second young master's plan. Fifth elder followed suit. This little prick is such a headache, having a strange movement art on top of his strong body. If not for Elder Lin, he would have escaped. Lin Zitian was proud of his glorious achievement, but shook his head, trying to act modestly. Peony Overseer was itching to go there and kick his butt. You damn old fart. It's fine if you don't want to help Drifting Flowers' edifice, but you went as far as helping that bastard from Regent Estate against Drifting Flowers' edifice's son-in-law? I was a fool to waste my feelings on you. Zhuofan had a contemptuous grin and secretly cursed him for being a moron. Even in this situation, he didn't put him in his eyes. He already saw, through Mary Wood's cultivation method, a useless trick, fancy but pointless. If his disciple ruined himself with it, what was to say of his master? How was he a worthy enemy if he was the weakest, albeit fastest? Zhuofan sneered. He only took into consideration Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder, while throwing Elder Lin in the back of his mind. Such clear-cut disregard irked Elder Lin, stinging his prideful heart. Second young master, Fifth Elder, allow me to handle this arrogant punk. Lin Zitian didn't find anything amiss and shouted. Zhuofan looked at him queerly. This opportunist sure is ballsy. You know I killed Yu Giki, who was as weak as you, yet you dare challenge me? Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder looked at him the same way. Is this old man all right? Even I have to watch my every move when facing this demon, and here you are asking to do it alone? Just who was the truly arrogant one here? One or two praises already got to your head? Chapter 158 Unstoppable Speed. Chapter 158 Unstoppable Speed. Sticking out his chest, Lin Zitian felt so full of himself being the center of attention. What he didn't see was the suspicion in their eyes. Fifth Elder, if Elder Lin wishes to fight him, let us owe him this favor and we'll repay it back in the future. Squinting, Huangpu Qingyun no longer second-guessed it and agreed with Lin Zitian. Lin Zitian cupped his hands to Huangpu Qingyun in joy. I wouldn't dare. This is something I should be doing anyway. For the second young master to grant me this honor is enough. Huangpu Qingyun's words revealed how much importance he gave himself. Lin Zitian was overjoyed. Mary Woods now had a powerful backer, but second young master, Fifth Elder, spoke with revulsion. Though his face had an understanding smile when turned to Huangpu Qingyun, as if the second young master cared about this pawn called Lin Zitian. He was only used as bait to see what other tricks Zhuofan had up his sleeves. At the least, they'd make some early plans on how to deal with them. Snickering inside, Fifth Elder cupped his hands at Lin Zitian. Elder Lin, thank you for your trouble. You're too kind, Fifth Elder. Lin Zitian's face had a glittering smile plastered on it. Like the bottom of the barrel, got hailed as the #1 genius. While Zhuofan could barely contain his mockery. There's no worse fool out there than a clueless lab rat. Fighting such a moron is a total waste of time. Zhuofan didn't waste words and capitalized on their inattention by jumping backward. His lightning wings were primed into sharpened daggers to break out of this encirclement. This time, he wasn't aiming for the air, but the wall behind him. As the wall was the closest to him, his action would leave the other unable to react. This would ultimately allow him to escape Drifting Flowers Arena and take to the skies. He would be soon as free as a bird, in his own element, while also offsetting the three's profound heaven speed from catching up. Huangpu Qingyun shouted in alarm. Damn it! He wants to run. He cursed Zhuofan inside for his cunning nature. One careless moment and he would slip away. By the time he and Fifth Elder got to the hole in the wall, Zhuofan had the advantage of the open sky outside. Ha ha ha, Huangpu Qingyun, old Fifth, we will meet again if fate allows it. Zhuofan sped up and left his laughter behind. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder gnashed their teeth, but didn't pursue. They knew it was too late already. But Zhuofan once again omitted Lin Zitian's name. It was clear disregard. Lin Zitian's grew irate. This prick thinks of escaping with me from Mary Woods here? Absurd. Whoosh! Lin Zitian's figure vanished. Not even Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder, who were the closest, noticed his movements. The next thing everyone knew, he was behind Zhuofan and cutting off the latter's retreat so fast. Zhuofan was startled somewhat. Lin Zitian was in the profound heaven stage, but his speed was far above it. He isn't an elder of Mary Woods for nothing. Although, since when is speed everything? You're nothing more than a paper tiger to me. Grinning, Zhuofan didn't slow down at all, going straight for Elder Lin. This had the elder fuming with rage. You little shit, you will pay for your insolence. Like an enraged lion, Zitian roared and charged as well, but Zhuofan wasn't one to mind, mocking him in fact as his lightning wings were sharpened for impact. Your funeral! The clash already had a conclusion. In everyone's minds Zhuofan was a monster, yet only a bone-tempering cultivator. He could face off against the impressive fifth layer of profound heaven-body cultivator, Hell Valley's fifth elder by himself. Not to mention he killed Yu Giki in one hit. You, Zitian, are no body cultivator, even weaker than Yu Giki. Yet you dare face such a freak? Truly a moron. Let's go together, fifth elder. Huangpu Qingyun spoke startled. Fifth elder didn't understand. Second young master, we won't be able to save him even if we do join. Fool, what saving? He might not last a hit, but as a profound heaven expert, he can delay that brat long enough for us to catch up. Huangpu Qingyun, already bolted with the fifth elder laughing right behind him. Zhuofan had long guessed their plan, and his mouth perked into a peculiar smile. Whoosh. Just when they were about to clash, Zhuofan used mystifying phantom step again, only to appear behind Zitian. What? Huangpu Qingyun and fifth elder stopped in shock. Zhuofan's cackle came from behind Zitian. Ha ha ha, your plan was for me to waste time on this idiot, right? You counted your chickens too soon. Damn it, he figured it out. Huangpu Qingyun scowled. Long Jiu's group now realized as well. Zitian wasn't there to attack Zhuofan, but to stall him enough for the other two to catch up. It was clearly out of Zitian's intentions. Ending up used by Huangpu Qingyun. Regent Estate was indeed an expert in manipulation. But Zhuofan saw through it with a glance, hailing his skills a cut higher in this 3-against-1 battle. They did not fight with only their fists but with their minds. If one side lost either aspect, defeat was imminent. Long Jiu admired Zhuofan even greater now. If it were him in Zhuofan's shoes, he would have attacked Zitian and fell in Huangpu Qingyun's trap, but now the situation resolved and Zhuofan was free to leave. However, before anyone could breathe a sigh of relief, Zitian punched Zhuofan as he roared, "Punk, you dare look down on me? Humph, you seriously don't know when to quit. Since you want death, I shall oblige." Finding Huangpu Qingyun and fifth elder stock still from the corner of his eye, Zhuofan grinned. Killing intent flared in his eyes and thrust at Zitian. Huangpu Qingyun was filled with regret. Who knew Zitian was so thick-headed, still in pursuit? If they knew, they wouldn't have stopped. Now, however, it was too late to go after him again. All they could do was watch Zitian throw away his life for nothing. Zitian didn't seem afraid of the 6th-grade demonic treasure coming for his life. He even had time to mock. "Brat, don't you know power is useless when you can't even land a hit?" Zhuofan didn't seem to catch his drift. But then Zitian vanished half a meter away from him, and the lightning wings hit naught but air. How? Zhuofan was in shock. It was impossible to move so fast without build-up. Only his mystifying phantom step could do it, allowing him to blink short distances. What he failed to detect, however, was the ripple in space. This was a burst over short distances, but this burst was so fast that not even a profound heaven expert's speed was its match. In his shock, Zitian appeared again with a mocking smile as he punched Zhuofan's chest. With lightning wings in mid-attack, Zhuofan could only use his arm to block. Humph. Regardless of how fast Marywood's is, your power is nothing. With such childish punches, not even 100 will help. Can one man's punch make any difference? Ever heard of constant efforts always prevail? Snorting, Zitian mocked Zhuofan, but his heart was furious as he added more power into his punch. But Zhuofan didn't care, as Zitian was indeed punching like a child. The most he could do was add his yuan qi on his punch to rattle Zhuofan's organs. Zhuofan was flabbergasted to discover this paper tiger sent him flying. He planted into a rock and ended up buried under the rubble. This astonished everyone around, making them reassess Elder Lin. To send the freakish Zhuofan flying earned him the title of peak expert in the profound heaven stage. Some couldn't even believe the opportunist Lin Zitian had such power in him. Even Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder were rooted in shock rumble. Zhuofan jumped out of the rubble, unharmed, but his arm looked inflamed. Raising his eyes on Lin Zitian, Zhuofan was now serious. It seems I've underestimated you, Elder Lin. Humph, you better believe it. We, the Merry Woods, have become one of the 7 houses thanks to our strength. Lin Zitian put away his fist as his eyes flashed with pride. All around looked at Lin Zitian with newfound respect. His figure never looked so imposing. Despite all that, Lin Zitian sneakily put his hand behind him and rubbed the pain away as he sucked a cold breath. His hand was purple. Chapter 159 Sinister like a Snake. Chapter 159 Sinister like a Snake. Blast it! Why is his body so damn hard? How is he even human? One punch almost destroyed my hand. Lin Zitian stood with hands behind his back, his head at a 45-degree up angle. Like a veritable expert, he was looked down on most of the time, and now he finally had the chance to show off. But what people were unaware of was that his eyes were swimming in tears. Without keeping appearances, he'd be losing all decorum. He could barely hold it in. His hand was screaming in pain. Ha ha ha, Elder Lin's power opened my eyes. I am in awe. Huangpu Qingyun laughed. The battle started with them having the advantage. Then Zhuofan had to take out some weird movement that made their advantage moot. Lin Zitian had the speed to counter it, but unfortunately, he was a paper tiger in spite of appearances. This Elder Lin showed he had what it took to fight Zhuofan. With the 3 of them working in tandem, Zhuofan was dead meat. Huangpu Qingyun proposed, Elder Lin, you have just shown your strength, but it's best we deal with this little prick as soon as possible. Yeah, Elder Lin. It will take you too long to bring him down, so I and second young master will help you. Getting Huangpu Qingyun's meaning, Fifth Elder urged as well in a sincere tone. He wasn't faking it this time. Before, Lin Zitian was but a mere cannon fodder. But now, he was an asset worth considering when taking down Zhuofan. Not only in terms of speed, but even with his power, he managed to earn the 2's approval. His heart moved to tears. Lin Zitian, who never received such courtesy, cupped his hands. Don't worry, second young master, Fifth Elder. I will not let him escape as long as I'm around. I have full trust in you. Huangpu Qingyun then turned to Zhuofan with killing intent. Zhuofan sank into a deep and heavy mood. He could deal with them too, but adding a Lin Zitian who could strike him into the mix, and it would make living a lot harder. He already had a plan set just for this occasion. Or he wouldn't have been so brazen to show himself. But that plan was a final resort. It was dangerous, so he wanted to avoid it at all costs. The only path left for him was driving a wedge in their teamwork. As for where to start, did one even need to ask? Snickering, Zhuofan eyed Lin Zitian with an evil glint. Elder Lin, I was truly wrong about you. I never took you for an expert, when you are in fact no less than Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder. Ha ha ha, you're late in realizing the obvious. Lin Zitian laughed the resentment away, now filled with nothing but content. Zhuofan was a junior, true, but he was infamous in the Tianyu Empire. He had proven himself a man of great power and ambition when he killed Yu Geki. Zhuofan's approval made him feel like he was bursting with prestige. Zhuofan eyes his vanity and upped the ante. But you can't blame me for that, Elder Lin. Merry Woods isn't exactly as impressive as the other houses. Nor its reputation for that matter. Rubbish. Merry Woods' name has always been glorious. Zhuofan's words began to take effect. Having Lin Zitian cut him off and sensed it only made Zhuofan's devious smile wider. From now on Merry Woods will be known throughout the empire. But did you perhaps not hear of those lines? What lines? Merry Woods, the opportunist. At a gust, it shifts between two. Today they bow before a red dress, tomorrow they kneel before a tree. But on which day the wind is stronger, that no one would want the lame leg any more? Of course, these lines were a proud work of Zhuofan. However, they comprised everything he witnessed in his stay at Drifting Flowers Edifice, emphasizing Lin Zitian's magnificent love life. Even Zhuofan grew narcissistic when he heard himself. Such literary talent would make me a bestseller. But to Lin Zitian's ears it was jarring. His face flushed and turned to see Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder dry coughing. But anyone could see they were laughing inside with rasped breath. Lin Zitian cursed. Bullshit! Who dared started this vilification? I will break the one who started this rumor. Rumor? Elder Lin is so forgetful, avoiding responsibilities. Now that you have a staunch supporter backing you, did you forget the fragrant and soft legs of yesterday? Zhuofan coincidentally looked at the terrace in that exact moment. Noticing his eyes, Peony Overseer was ashamed, boring her resentment into him. Chu Qingqing frowned. Senior sister, is this Edifice Lord Chu? Don't listen to his hoshposh. I was about to do it, for Drifting Flowers Edifice, but he didn't agree and we were through. What stuff about responsibility when he didn't do anything? Peony Overseer rushed to explain, but it only made it worse. Everyone was looking at her oddly at the same time. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder were filled with mirth when seeing Lin Zitian, though more aptly, mirth filled with mockery and contempt. Playing with women was nothing to a man, but that didn't go the same with leaning left then right. Regent Estate prized loyalty above all else. Lin Zitian's face alternated between white and blue. His mouth parted, but he had no riposte. Even the weakened Vicious Pill King had to sneer at such sensational news. Lin Zitian looked as if he choked on a fly. He couldn't spit or swallow, stuck in the worst moment of his life. Looking back at himself, he regretted it in his heart for talking with this bastard. You little shit, I will tear you into 1,000 pieces. Lin Zitian flew into a rage, ignoring his teammates as he charged at Zhuofan. The latter was startled and moved the lightning wings to attack Lin Zitian. Whoosh! Lin Zitian vanished again, only to appear before Zhuofan. Without a choice, Zhuofan had to block with his hand. Again the same scene replayed, with Zhuofan smashing into a rock, then covered in rubble coming out of there. He saw Lin Zitian already on him, not leaving him room to even breathe. Zhuofan's arm was inflamed, but he pressed on with his wings. It was useless. Lightning wings were fast but not a match for Lin Zitian's speed. This resulted in him being ragdolled from one rock to another by Lin Zitian's kick. Lin Zitian was no body cultivator, so such attacks meant little harm to Zhuofan, but such damages accumulate around the 7th or 8th round. Zhuofan was bruised all over. Not life-threatening, but it worked to cut at his body's strength. Now huffing for breath, taking 7-8 hits of this left him wounded deeply. Even his diamond body would start to decline under a profound heaven expert's onslaught. Persistent effort. Anything hammered long enough, no matter how tough, would soon break at some point. The same was happening to Zhuofan. Despite the battering he suffered, the staunch resolve never left his eyes. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder laughed out loud. Zhuofan was done for. Without them needing to even lift a finger, they never thought of Lin Zitian as someone that strong. He was flinging the demon Zhuofan around like nothing when they were having such a hard time with him just a few moments before. Ha ha ha, everyone has a weakness. Huangpu Qingyun laughed inside and shouted, Elder Lin, leave him half alive. Let me have a go. Chu Qingqing was filled with worry, as was Xiao Dandan. Seeing Zhuofan suffering, she was on the verge of crying. Long Jiu tightened his fists, ready to jump in at a moment's notice, but Vicious Pill King watched Zhuofan with doubt. Something is off here, but what? Master, did you say something? Yen Fu came next to him. Following his gaze, he suddenly laughed. Oh, you mean that brat? He will soon die at Elder Lin's hands and clear your resentment. He was so haughty and insufferable just a while back, and now he is getting his just desserts. Ha ha ha. Yes, that's it. Vicious Pill King muttered. I see it now. What it felt off. His haughty and obnoxious nature is gone. Yen Fu was startled. Master, what is so bad about that? Why would he still act cocky if he is beaten senseless? You know nothing. Cursing, vicious Pill King turned grave. Even in death, a lion's a lion. If a king takes off his gown, he is still a king. That gaze that said everything is beneath him will never disappear. But it is gone now, no, not gone, hidden. Like a viper poised to make use of that once chance that will take the enemy's life. Vicious Pill King watched Zhuofan being kicked around and cried in fright, Elder Lin, watch out! He is planning on taking your disciple hostage. Chapter 160, The Plot to End Lin Zitian. Chapter 160, The Plot to End Lin Zitian. Precisely. Everyone had eyes only for Zhuofan and were unable to see the bigger picture. That whenever Lin Zitian sent Zhuofan flying, it brought him one strike closer to the eastern stand with all the experts down in the arena. It left poor Lin Tianyu, disciple of Lin Zitian. Alone Lin Tianyu was watching how his master taught that man who brutalized and humiliated him in front of so many people a hard lesson. Yet, vicious Pill King's yell got him staring blankly. Why me again? Lin Zitian also stopped from shock, but Zhuofan snickered and his eyes flashed with killing intent. Humph, too late. He stomped and shot like a cannonball for Lin Tianyu. He no longer hid his intense killing intent and released it out onto the world. Zhuofan was still just 100 meters away from Lin Tianyu. It took a mere blink to one with comparable speed to those profound heaven experts to close this distance, leaving Lin Zitian unable to do a thing. Lin Zitian, you seem to have had a blast kicking me around. Now I will kill your prized disciple. Let's see how you like them apples. Frightened, Lin Zitian knew he'd been led by the nose. But how, when he was a highly intelligent man, yet never saw any signs pointing to this? However, this was no time to think. His disciple was in Zhuofan's evil clutches. Lin Zitian flashed behind Zhuofan and punched as he roared. Zhuofan, fight me if you have the guts. Leave my disciple out of it. Whoosh. Zhuofan vanished from his sight. Then a groan escaped his lips and his body trembled. Lin Zitian's rage-filled eyes went stiff looking down. He saw a hand sticking out of his chest whilst holding a slowly beating heart. Wish granted, ha ha ha. A sinister laughter reached Lin Zitian, but all he could feel was his body growing colder. His life ebbing away, but his eyes were ever clouded in doubt. He struggled to look back at the demonic youth. Why you, how did you match my speed? Didn't your disciple tell you? I already told him. It doesn't matter how fast you are when I know who your target is. Zhuofan clenched his hand and the beating heart splashed blood everywhere. Lin Zitian's ice-cold corpse slumped on the eastern stand. His eyes wide as saucers, dying with regret. Lin Tianyu wailed in fear and curled up in a corner, not even daring to look Zhuofan in the eye. Trash. You don't even dare look at your master's killer? Disappointing. Zhuofan left with a snicker. What met him were the frightened eyes of everyone else. Mary Woods' elder Lin Zitian was killed in one blow. But the worst was Zhuofan's casual expression when doing it. It looked like he was squashing a bug, and not a profound heaven expert, and his calculative eyes looked on as if everything fell in his predetermined plan. It was as though he was able to easily pluck the lives of his enemy at the drop of a hat. Demon. This was the sole impression he conveyed. Edifice Lord Chu, I told you. You know nothing of this brat. Did you see it just now? He is a demon king, in the flesh. Xie Tianyang's expression was grave. Although this made it the second time he saw Zhuofan kill a profound heaven expert, the shock was in no way lessened. Zhuofan's slaughter was incomparable to any others. It was as natural as a king disposing of his slave. Such a cold and unfeeling manner made him shiver whenever he saw Zhuofan strike. The same went for everyone there as well. This brat is worse than vicious Pill King. Peony Overseer's lip trembled. I can see now why the Hell Kill order was issued. but I feel that the Hell Kill order is not enough to make him feel an ounce of fear. Qingqing, you need to think this over carefully, whether he is the man you want to return to. Iris Overseer sucked a deep breath and spoke her concerns. Chu Qingqing muttered to herself for a while. Her eyes were filled with uncertainty, but soon hardened, indeed. What you all say has its merits, but isn't this the very same Demon King who saved our Drifting Flowers edifice? Yeah, Sister Qingqing. Husband may be vile, but only to our enemies. He never harmed us. Don't ever think otherwise. Xiao Dandan blurted. Her devotion to Zhuofan was unflinching. After all, she desired to be with him for as long as they lived. However, Zhuofan once said he didn't accept Chu Qingqing's dowry. So, how could she accept her then, when she was nothing but an extra? So Xiao Dandan had to keep Zhuofan in Chu Qingqing's heart. Otherwise, he would not only refuse Chu Qingqing, but the free gift as well. The heart could only bear so much for love. The two overseers also sighed, seeing Chu Qingqing making up her mind. They all knew, however, there would not be one day of peace around someone like Zhuofan. Vicious Pill King watched the cold and sinister Zhuofan up in the stand and sighed. I was wrong. You didn't aim for Lin Tianyu, but was after Lin Zitian from the start. Correct. I wanted that old coot's life from the very beginning. Why would I go after his trash of a disciple for? Zhuofan chuckled. Also, I may be holding Lin Tianyu hostage, striking fear in Lin Zitian, but would Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder care about his life? Am I someone who doesn't know a person's value? Ha ha ha, right. When a viper bares its fangs, it will strike its mark. I was wrong in thinking Lin Tianyu was important. Vicious Pill King lamented and shook his head. However, your fight leading to Lin Tianyu was all according to your plan. You're catching on. Zhuofan raised his head and grinned. Lin Zitian was a fool, thinking he was in control, when in fact, every strike was predetermined. When all paths are sealed, his only choice was the only one he saw. It was the path I let him see. This was the conclusion I came to while I was kicked around. What a sinister brat! Huangpu Qingyun gnashed his teeth. If only I noticed earlier. I and Fifth Elder would have stepped in and saved Elder Lin's life. Ha ha ha, don't kid yourself, Huangpu Qingyun. You're overconfident if you think a daft brat like you can see through my schemes. Do you think a few books on ruling are enough to grasp the people's hearts? Humph, you're far beneath me. Zhuofan laughed with scorn. It would have been quite the high-stakes mind game if you geeky was here, but you guys just don't cut it. Clenching his fists, Huangpu Qingyun was infuriated. The great Regent Estate's second young master had never been patronized in his life by his peers. To the extent of being mocked as a daft brat, this was no different from a beggar cursing at an emperor in the middle of the street. The emperor was no emperor if he would take it lying down, or he wasn't Regent Estate's second young master if he let it slide. Zhuofan's mockery only grew worse when he noticed his fury. Huangpu Qingyun, you can't take it? Then let me reiterate. You know nothing of the ways of ruling, so don't go smear mud on the true way of grasping the people's hearts. If the three of you had gone together against me, I wouldn't have stood a chance. So I had to relieve you of one man, the oh-so-intelligent and ambitious Elder Lin. Everyone was fixated on Zhuofan, who was telling how he led them by the nose, and managed to kill Lin Zitian. Huangpu Qingyun's heart was bleeding from hatred, yet his ears were attentive to catch the details. First things first, a ruler needs to see talent to be tolerant. With how vain Lin Zitian was, all I had to do was to fling some dirt at him, and he lost control. And you, instead of appeasing him, you mocked him from the side, making him fly off the handle. In his anger-addled mind, he left you behind fighting me all by himself. The witnesses turned to see how Huangpu Qingyun would react. One thing was clear though, he wasn't tolerant in the least, not at all how a ruler should behave. To be blunt, He was not leader material. Huangpu Qinyun sensed the change in everyone and his hatred for Zhuofan grew yet. Zhuofan just kept going, moving on. A ruler has control over the situation, placing worth on the greater picture. Of all people here, only Lin Zitian could counter my speed. But you let this valuable asset go further and further away from you in his battle with me, out of your range. You only had to stay close to him, and he would still be alive. This is another fault of yours. Enough. It is you who killed Lin Zitian, and now you're trying to pin it on me? Humph, everyone knows how deceitful you are. Huangpu Qinyun could no longer sit still while listening to his mockery. Smiling, Zhuofan scorned him. A regent is a regent because he is leading the people. Those that shirk responsibilities are not fit to be regents, and are not worthy to follow. The people's hearts shivered. They watched Zhuofan, amazed at how much sense he made. It also worked to dampen their respect for Huangpu Qinyun by a great deal. They respected Regent Estate's second young master at first, for his strict handling of affairs, for being a ruling talent, but Zhuofan opened their eyes to the truth. He was no leading material, and following him would lead them to a dead end. Even Fifth Elder's eyes changed, now sporting a different opinion, sowing discord. But this sowing was hidden very deep, since he was driving a wedge between their trust, and not just based on emotions. Huangpu Qinyun's retinue was formed of blind followers, thinking there was nothing he couldn't do. If it worked, it couldn't be better, but Zhuofan's killing of Lin Zitian fell mostly on his shoulders. Saying he was unfit to lead at this point, whether the people believe or not, it cut down a great deal of his prestige. He would become someone no one wanted to follow and, most importantly, the cooperation between Huangpu Qinyun and Fifth Elder would falter, making them weaker. Zhuofan smiled his evil grin, as if all were dancing in the palm of his hand. Chapter 161, Rumbling Bloodbath. Chapter 161, Rumbling Bloodbath. With eyebrows locked in a scowl, Huangpu Qinyun could feel the eyes on him taking a different nuance, making his heart burn with newfound rage. Damn it, this punk is good in psychological warfare as well. He got these geezers buckling with a few words. This can't go on. He must die, beyond any shadow of a doubt. I have to shut him up now. Will I have any respect left, any credibility, if this keeps up? With his mind set, Huangpu Qinyun restrained his aura, ready to make an overt attack at any opportune moment. Since I can't counter that odd movement, I'll just finish him off with one clean and hidden strike. Before his chance came, however, Zhuofan flitted to the closest arena wall, aiming for a quick escape. Curses again with the running. Huangpu Qinyun cussed, feeling his plan ruined before he could even enact it. He wanted to sneak attack Zhuofan, so he dropped his aura to confuse enemies. But Zhuofan took the initiative to move first before he could. He was exasperated. The little shit is a parasite. How is it that whenever I'm planning something, he reacts as if knowing what it is? There wasn't anyone around to tell him that this old and veteran demon, Zhuofan, could tell if he had to take a dump before even he did, and now that Fifth Elder's trust in Huangpu Qinyun plummeted, his reaction was somewhat slower than before. This short delay allowed Zhuofan to arrive before the wall. The two hurried to catch him while Zhuofan was having a blast. Ha ha ha, too slow. You're far from enough to stop yours truly. Zhuofan lashed his lightning wings at the walls. The wall sported a brand new 5-meter-tall hole, allowing sunshine to spill inside. Fresh air rushed to him, lifting his spirits. Zhuofan then stepped into the clouds. He was like a caged bird finally seeing the wide-open skies for the first time. Fifth Elder gnashed his teeth. Only now did his senses come back, figuring out that Zhuofan's speech was meant to drive a wedge and affect their state of mind. How else could he escape from under the tight guard of two profound heaven experts in an enclosed space like Drifting Flowers Arena? This kid is more cunning than Seventh Elder. He may be sighing inside, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. The more outstanding Zhuofan revealed to be, the more he had to put the kid down. He's already a freak in bone-tempering stage. What will happen when he enters the profound heaven stage then? Who in Tianyu will be able to stop him? Huangpu Qingyun was of a like mind, he had to be killed. They looked at each other, finding determination in each of their eyes. They rushed through the hole and engaged in the chase. Vicious Pill King muttered to himself as he took Yen Fu through the hole as well. The only ones left inside were Long Jiu's gang secretly sighing. Iris Overseer looked on in fright. Demon Zhuofan is beyond cunning. He played the astute Huangpu Qingyun like a fiddle. Now I can see how he killed the insidious demon, Yu Giki. He, but of course. Snickering, Xie Tianyang shook his head dejected. That brat is just too sly. Those with brains but not brawn will undoubtedly lose. Those with brawn but no brains will never get the upper hand on him. He is the single most dreadful thing in this world. My husband is brave and wise beyond his age. Xiao Dandan's pride in Zhuofan jumped a few notches. Chu Qingqing smiled without meaning to. Even her eyes glinted with pride. The others had to nod at her words. Zhuofan was a rarity on this continent. Where could one find such a youth excelling in mettle and mind? Long Jiu proposed, let's go as well. He is now in an open space with a high chance of escaping, but it's best we are nearby if things go south. They all nodded and flew outside, but a panicked cry came at this moment. Dandan, Dandan, save me! His master's corpse turned Lin Tianyu's legs to mush, unable to even move from fear. Watching Chu Qingqing's group leaving as well, he supposed they were aiming for Zhuofan and got excited. Lin Tianyu started crying as if he hadn't seen his relatives in years. This man truly took after his master. He was still clueless which side was pro-Zhuofan, and which was anti-Zhuofan. He went and assumed Zhuofan made a scapegoat out of Drifting Flowers' edifice. So, he hurried to Xiao Dandan, gave a few bows to the seniors and wept, Dandan, that demon killed my master. For the feelings we had, for Drifting Flowers' edifice and Mary Wood's intermarriages all these years, I plead seniors to give master justice and kill that demon. Please avenge master. Long Jiu's group was startled, then looked at him funny. The apple truly didn't fall far from the tree. He's as dumb as his master. Did you not see us standing at the side doing nothing, with no intention of stepping in? You are one clueless kid to come ask us for help. Lin Tianyu was off-put when they were silent and second-guessed. They had to be in fear of Zhuofan, unwilling to join, thinking their house's well-being was on the line since appealing to their morality went bust. He'd appeal to reason. He turned grave on the spot as he spoke with zeal. Demon Zhuofan flaunts his ruthless and barbaric power. Today he killed my master, tomorrow he will kill you. Even with second young master and fifth elder joining hands, they may not hold him here. If he runs, it will spell the end of the 7 houses. For our brothers and sisters, I plead you to think of your own house, of your bleak future, and join together with second young master in removing this vile spawn from the face of the world. Lin Tianyu spoke with righteousness, with valor, but the ones he was talking to were having a ball in their minds. Is this kid still playing the gentleman with no crowd around to see him? Better yet, since when did the 7 houses become brothers and sisters? Are you blind to not see Vicious Pill King almost annihilating Drifting Flowers' edifice? You need to get your facts straight. Just how has this disciple been raised to believe this nonsense? When the time comes, he is the type that won't even know how he died. They only shook their heads and ignored him as they went on their merry way. He is a prime example of what a fool is. Miss Dandan, I find this kid upstanding, so why not take him? Later you'll need to handle him well. Xie Tianyang cracked jokes. Lin Tianyu had no clue what this sword marquise abode's young master was going with this, but his words brought Xiao Dandan one thought only. Isn't that telling me to whip him? And her cheeks flushed. Lin Tianyu saw them treating him like thin air, and he downheartedly implored Xiao Dandan. Dandan, Mary Woods is too far and I won't make it in time to report. please, you have to convince your seniors to avenge Master. Do it yourself. What man are you, letting others do your job for you? Xiao Dandan snapped a glare at him, then kicked him before storming back to the group. She was so perplexed. How could they both be men, with one a hero and the other an annoying coward? He even had the nerve to ask others for revenge when he didn't even look the killer in the eye. The more she compared the two, the more her love grew. On the other hand, Lin Tianyu fell to the ground and wailed dejectedly, "What's wrong with asking others for revenge? How am I supposed to fight that freak who killed Master? This is not how a man." Outside the Drifting Flowers arena was packed with clansmen and alchemists, who were in the area, afraid of getting in the crossfire between Huangpu Qinyun and Zhuofan. Although they did leave the building, they were too curious to vacate the premises. They wanted to see for themselves the ending. How the demon Zhuofan, Grandmaster of Alchemy, was as scary as the rumors painted him out to be. Meanwhile, they were also afraid that they might get caught in the crossfire and end up injured. This was a profound heaven expert's fight to the death, was it not? Sticking too close would send one to an early grave. Sigh, everything's so twisted. The Drifting Flowers edifice's disciples were tasked with upholding order. Xiaoya was among them too, lamenting. Why is this time's 100-pill meeting filled with fighting? She was thinking the Drifting Flowers arena might even blow up from their profound heaven stage powers boom. As she was mulling, a loud explosion rang her ears. The crowd saw a new opening in the arena wall and a winged figure taking to the skies. Zhuofan. Startled, they began to admire how amazing he was to escape from Hell Valley and Regent Estate. But then, two more figures came out, Huangpu Qinyun and Fifth Elder. They only took a blink to bar Zhuofan's way. A sledgehammer and a golden fist flew and backing Zhuofan into a corner, but with the wide open space around him, Zhuofan's bizarre art was even weirder, flitting back and forth like a specter. Not even Huangpu Qinyun and Fifth Elder's tight blockade could hold Zhuofan in the sky. Three figures dashed around, but they always flashed past each other, not once connecting. The crowd had long stood slack-jawed. None could reach their speeds, but they could guess how astonishing it was. Seeing Zhuofan flitting around so relaxed was enough proof. No wonder he's dubbed demon when he can throw off profound heaven experts with his weird movements. Only a demon could move as creepy as that. Whoosh! With a sudden kick, Zhuofan escaped the two's encirclement. Huangpu Qinyun and Fifth Elder were now panting in pursuit, but couldn't catch up. They were body cultivators but had no movement art. Matching their speed to Zhuofan taxed their bodies. Ha ha ha, Huangpu Qinyun, time to count your blessings. Laughed Zhuofan. Huangpu Qinyun and Fifth Elder were far from willing to give up. Suddenly, an aged voice came. Youngster, have you forgotten about me? Unable to react, Zhuofan was stuck. It was as though he was hit with an artillery shell, slamming him onto the ground, creating a 10-meter crater in the ground, and in his previous spot was a meter-large blood-colored bat with small eyes and sharp glints. The crowd cried out, "Third-level spiritual beast, rumbling blood bat." Chapter 162 Dire Straits. Chapter 162 Dire Straits. Rumbling Bloodbat, a seldom-seen peculiar spiritual beast in the world of spiritual beasts, the strong preyed on the weak. The higher the level, the stronger they were. Yet, this creature was an exception. It was no stronger than a first-level spiritual beast, and had neither claws nor fangs. It had a shocking trait, though. The rumbling bat wave. It was a sound attack that struck the soul. It would leave one in a coma or, worse, annihilate one's soul after using it. It would then go and bore its fangs into the victim, sucking blood away. It may be a mere third-level spiritual beast, but few were capable of surviving its sound attack. Not even a fourth-level spiritual beast could stand up to a flock of 10 rumbling bloodbats. Who cared how tough you were? Who cared how skilled you were? You'd still die from this creature's sound attack if your soul lacked heart. This creature that bared Zhuofan's escape was one that could strike fear even in 4th-level spiritual beasts. Jumping out of the hole, Zhuofan looked up at the 10-bat. He was finally sporting a serious expression. Then looking at the speaker and saw Vicious Pill King, he was holding a gourd, smiling at Zhuofan. Now I see. This must be your final move. Zhuofan squinted. He'd seen the old man carry the gourd for a while now, but only discovered it was a beast-holding item when cornered by Iris Overseer, Chu Qingqing, and Long Jiu not too long ago. He was still putting a tough front because of the rumbling blood bats in his gourd. It was smart of them to back off and not to attack then, or they would have been doomed. This old man wasn't to be pushed around. Even after using blood essence 4 times, he still couldn't be underestimated, no matter how weak he appeared. Zhuofan's eyes flashed in admiration. Long Jiu's group just came out through the hole and saw him standing amidst ruins. They turned to the sky and paled. Rumbling blood bat! And 10 of them? They all turned grave just when they thought Zhuofan had free reign of the skies outside the arena. He was met with 10 rumbling blood bats. Zhuofan was now cornered by 2 profound heaven experts and a 4th-level spiritual beast equivalent flock of bats. Not even a profound heaven expert could pull an escape out of this, least of all, a winged bone-tempering expert. Their hearts were now stretched taut. Ha ha ha, Elder Yen. In the end, you are the most reliable to block this brat. Laughing freely, Huangpu Qingyun floated next to the old man. Then, he stuck up his chin at Zhuofan. Kid, let's see you run now. Hell Valley's 5th elder landed beside them, eyes flashing with cruelty. Sighing, Vicious Pill King looked on with regret. Song, Grandmaster Zhua, I am in awe of Sir's wondrous refining skill. I am pained to have you as my enemy, but I am bereft of any choice. His words stirred the sympathy of many clan delegates, as well as the alchemists participating today. The demon Zhuofan, who offended Hell Valley, was Grandmaster Song. Such sorrow, a cruel death awaited all who dared oppose the 7 noble houses. But an exalted alchemist to find his end in such a wretched way was lamentable. The least the crowd could do was show deep respect while sending off this great man on his final journey. But Zhuofan only snickered. He, Elder Yen, you think too highly of your batsies. They can scare a 4th-level spiritual beasts, but in the end they're a flock. Zhuofan vanished as he took flight. The bats flapped their wings and opened their snouts. The air rippled and a visible wave traveled at Zhuofan. Zhuofan sidestepped. The wave hit the ground, but nothing happened. Yet, the stones around turned to dust. The people began to fear the rumbling blood bat even more. A normal bone-tempering expert struck by this wave would have died in anguish, but Zhuofan relied on his uncanny speed to dance among the attacks. He was almost out of their encirclement. Damn, Zhuofan is too sly. He noticed that the 10 bats are unable to coordinate and slipped through the gaps in their attack. Let's block him together, 5th elder. Huangpu Qingyun cried in panic, to which Vicious Pill King dismissed his words. 2nd young master, don't worry. You'll only make it worse if you charge along with the bloodbats. I will make sure he won't have anywhere else to run. Vicious Pill King opened his gourd and made a hand sign. A screech came from within it, followed by another flock of bats flying to the gap Zhuofan was aiming for, shutting it tight. A dozens of times stronger ripple sent Zhuofan barreling into the ground, leaving another huge hole when he crawled out. He sucked a cold breath at the sight. The sky was filled with rumbling blood bats. A rough estimate would give around 100 if 10 were enough for a 4th-level spiritual beast, then 100 would even kill a 5th-level spiritual beast. A bolt of fear went through the crowd, including Huangpu Qingyun. They were so frightened they couldn't speak. Not even a radiant stage expert could come out of this one, least of all this Zhuofan freak. Holy! Just where did the old coot find so many rumbling blood bats? They don't grow on trees. Long Jiu's mind was in a haze. Not even the brat could get out of this one. What? Xiao Dandan jerked. You're saying husband has no chance? Nodding gravely, Long Jiu sighed and pointed when Zhuofan was falling. Vicious Pill King made other signs and had Zhuofan surrounded by the 100 bats if he dared fly. The bats would blow him back down. This barricaded area seemed to belong to a different world, covered by 100 rare rumbling blood bats. They tightened the space, so much that it became smaller than Drifting Flowers Arena. Damn it! Zhuofan frowned as he jumped in the sky again. Like a pillar coming from the heavens above, Zhuofan was sent into the ground without delay. His knees were touching dirt, blood seeped from his mouth, and all the rocks around him were blown away as nothing but dust. Ha ha ha! 100 blood bats is so strong that even the kid's unyielding body is wounded. His death is in sight. Huangpu Qinyan laughed, watching Vicious Pill King with newfound respect. Elder Yen, you've surprised me. I never knew you hid such wonderful things. Second young master, you jest. These bats were gathered over the past 1,000 years by the Pill King Hall. I was only allowed to use them because of my modest contributions to Pill King Hall. Vicious Pill King then turned a sad look to Zhuofan. Second young master, Zhuofan is, after all, a grandmaster alchemist. He may deserve death, but leave his corpse intact. Humph, I really wanted to tear him apart, but since it's Elder Yan's request, I will let it go. Huangpu Qinyan waved, pleased inside nodding. Vicious Pill King made the 100 rumbling blood bats open their snouts again. All of them struck with sound attacks at the same time. Ah! With a wail, Zhuofan felt his head about to explode and his mind fading. His soul was damaged. If not for the refining he had been through, he would have long had his soul scattered. Blast it. I still had a way out, but now it's useless. I should have used it when I had the chance. These bastards better hope I won't get out of here or I will slaughter them all. His head hurting like hell, Zhuofan gnashed his teeth and held on to his dear life. His bloodshot eyes and veiny forehead let the crowd in on the suffering he was enduring. Humph! He is a freak all right. Anyone would have hit the dirt by now, but he's still holding strong. Fifth Elder exclaimed. Huangpu Qinyan laughed, his eyes sharp. So what if he's a freak? He's just slightly tougher than the average man. He'll soon drop dead anyway. This is for the best. Killing him here will show the world what end awaits any who stands against Regent Estate. Ah! Zhuofan's wail never ceased, akin to a flogged wild beast. The rocks he had been clutching had long been crushed to powder. Vicious Pill King didn't indulge in taking revenge, only feeling endless regret. His greatest and most respected opponent would find himself dead in such a wretched way. The alchemists around also sighed. But there was no one there willing to stand up to the 7 houses. Xiao Dandan's face was covered in tears, pleading Chu Qingqing with her eyes. She bit her lip, about to intervene, but Long Jiu pulled her back. Not even we can save him from the 100 rumbling blood bats' onslaught. We will only throw our lives away. Let it go, there is no point. Long Jiu sighed at Zhuofan's sorry state. Already thinking about how to abandon the Luo clan, his alliance was with Zhuofan. Without him, the Veiled Dragon Pavilion had no reason to help the Luo clan. With Zhuofan dying, the alliance agreement would fall through. A sigh, brother, don't blame me. I will look after your clan, but cannot uphold the alliance any longer. It just isn't in the house's benefit. Long Jiu sighed, while the rest lowered their heads in resignation. Zhuofan was in dire straits, with no one appearing to aid him. Chapter 163, I Want to Kill. Chapter 163, I Want to Kill. Suddenly, Zhuofan's wailing was cut short. Everyone's heart seized with a shiver. Qingqing even began shedding tears thinking Zhuofan was gone, but what was so astonishing was that Zhuofan's energy signature was still there, with an azure flame in the center of his forehead under its cover. Zhuofan started breathing, eased up. The sound waves didn't stop, but they weren't as aggravating as before. That's Xie Tianyang cried. I remember now. In his battle with Yu Giki, this azure flame appeared as well, shielding his soul. Indeed, Zhuofan was muddled from the pain to his soul, and forgot about the azure flame protecting his soul. Now that his soul was at its limit, the azure flame came out by itself with it. Zhuofan relaxed. Under the gentle and warm glow of the flame, his soul began to recover. Zhuofan felt how it grew, and was on the verge to break through into the radiant stage. Slowly closing his eyes, Zhuofan remained kneeling and ignored everything around him as he let the warmth bathe him. This was a rare chance for his soul to advance, and he wasn't about to miss it. The proud Huangpu Qinyun now cried in panic at Vicious Pill King. "Elder Yen, what's happening? He still seems to be alive." He's not dead yet." Vicious Pill King was also confused. "Then what is this? Why isn't he wailing, and seems to be enjoying it instead?" Huangpu Qinyun was baffled. Vicious Pill King rolled his eyes and shook his head. "How should I know? Elder Yen." Huangpu Qinyun squinted. "You can't be thinking of going easy on him because he's an incredible alchemist, are you?" Incensed, Vicious Pill King snapped his glare on him. "Second young master, please watch your tone. Haven't Pill King Hall always assisted Regent Estate? When have we ever shown the opposite? Aren't we getting the Bodhi root for you as well?" "Ha ha ha, that remains to be seen. Everyone knows Pill King Hall yearns for this incredible treasure. Who knows, maybe you'll just take it and run at first chance." Huangpu Qinyun snorted. Vicious Pill King was so furious he couldn't say a word, and his heart sank. Zhuofan's words may have been to break their teamwork, but they were undoubtedly true. This Huangpu Qinyun was no leader material. He was too narrow-minded. Fifth Elder walked to Huangpu Qinyun, watching Zhuofan assaulted by the rumbling blood bats, and said, "Second young master, I think he had come up with a way to block the blood bats. If this continues, the situation will only worsen. What do you think we should do?" Huangpu Qinyun was growing worried as well. Fifth Elder revealed a wicked grin. "I suggest we attack him together. The blood bats sealed that uncanny movement skill, and we can kill him at close range. Also, second young master, didn't you speak of killing him yourself to ease your hatred?" Hee. "Yes, we'll do as you say." Huangpu Qinyun nodded, and said to Vicious Pill King in request, when in fact it sounded more like a demand, "I'll be troubling Elder Yen to stop the blood bat's attack, and let us go fight him ourselves. But remember, don't let that kid escape again." Snorting inside, despite his anger, Vicious Pill King complied. Who told the Regent Estate and Pill King Hall to sign an alliance agreement. For lack of a better alternative, he had to obey with a hand sign. The 100 rumbling blood bats stopped, but Zhuofan's eyes were still very much closed as he kneeled on the ground. He looked just like a man on his last leg, with his reserves spent. He was unable to even stand up. With one exception, the azure flame still flickered on his forehead. "What's wrong with him?" Chu Qingqing asked, anxious with the sound attacks gone. He should have jumped to his feet. But he was sitting there like a statue instead. He may be either comatose or too weak to even move. Both of which were the worst possibilities in such a dangerous situation. Chu Qingqing pleaded Long Jiu with her eyes. "Uncle Jiu." His lone eye shook as he said gravely, "Wait a bit longer. If he still has a scheme in play, we will not only fail to save him by going in now, but even ruin his plan." Xie Tianyang blurted. The rest nodded. They were all clear from Zhuofan's handling of Huangpu Qinyun so far. He always aimed for when his opponent was unguarded. He was unfathomable to always seem to manage to have Huangpu Qinyun trapped again and again without even realizing it. Huangpu Qinyun was thinking the same thing. Zhuofan looked calm, unmoving, but who knew if he was faking it instead? They wanted to avoid his sudden assault, which could send another one of them to an early grave. Huangpu Qinyun recalled just how dangerous it was so far, and he was soaked in a cold sweat. His steps were even more careful as they neared Zhuofan. The alchemists and the clan's delegates bolted before they could witness the intricate battle of before. To their eyes, 2 profound heaven experts, from the 7 houses, were shaking in their boots in the face of a defenseless bone-tempering cultivator. They were dumbstruck. Dude, what's up with that? You are the ones after his life, you are the strongest one here, yet you won't dare get close to an unconscious man? You're disgracing the 7 houses, you know? Huangpu Qingyun's response, if he could hear them, would be, I know. Damn it. Taking a deep breath, Huangpu Qingyun closed in on Zhuofan ever so slowly, yet the sweat on his brow grew denser as well. He wasn't afraid of fighting Zhuofan, it was Zhuofan's tricky nature that left him harried at the end of it all. He was just scared of falling for Zhuofan's trick again. When they finally got to Zhuofan, Huangpu Qingyun and 5th Elder tested with a punch bam. The golden fist smacked into Zhuofan's face and sent him flying. Then a boom resounded as he was buried in rubble. Huangpu Qingyun was stumped. Wasn't that too easy? Zhuofan didn't even react, and he was now overjoyed. He must be still out of it from the bat's sound attacks. 5th Elder, we were right. His brain is the only thing that kept him alive so far. Huangpu Qingyun laughed. 5th Elder nodded and grinned as he invited, if you would, 2nd young master. The two puffed out their chest and strutted to the rubble. The people were speechless. They were shaking in their boots before, but now they knew he was out like an extinguished candle, a lamb to the slaughter. They got their haughty attitudes back. What kind of people are these? The crowd looked at them with derision. They'd be raining mockeries if not for them being from the 7 houses. The two were too self-absorbed in their joy to notice, and were now going to pluck the fruit of victory. Chu Qingqing was panicking. Even if she acted now, it was far too late. Long Zhu looked up at the circling bats, then around, and said through clenched teeth, Jian Suifeng, Iris Overseer, Peony Overseer, come with me to deal with the bats. Kill as many as you can. Qingqing, you go save the kid. I hope Huangpu Qingyun will go easy seeing a familiar face. Chu Qingqing nodded with conviction, but before they could start, another boom followed. Zhuofan jumped out of the rubble and the azure flame was also gone, but his eyes flashed with a bluish glow, as if flame still throbbed within. Who the hell hit me? Step up and I promise not to beat you to death. He twisted his neck around to the two of them with an evil grin. Startled, Huangpu Qingyun and 5th Elder were incredulous. You're fine even after being hit by 100 bats' attacks. Ha ha ha, the 100 bats cawing were nothing but annoying. Zhuofan showed a cryptic smile. The people were dumbstruck. 100 rumbling blood bats were enough to kill a 5th-level spiritual beast, but he was safe and sound? Zhuofan is a freak through and through. Vicious Pill King was also dazed from shock. Long Zhuo's group finally relaxed. He is always giving us scares and worries. He has a talent to keep turning a crisis into a blessing in disguise. Long Zhu sighed, but Chu Qingqing frowned at the bats in the sky. The danger has yet to pass. No, it's all fine now. Xie Tianyang smiled. Look how his eyes changed. I only saw that look once, when he killed Yu Giki. I will never forget that unnerving confidence. They all looked and realized Xie Tianyang was right. Zhuofan's entire demeanor changed. He was like a honed sword, waiting to leave its sheath and upturn the world, and deep in the dark abyss that were his eyes, frigid killing intent roiled. Even Long Zhuo, a profound heaven expert, shivered. Xie Tianyang laughed and stretched. He is itching to slaughter someone. Huangpu Qingyun and 5th Elder nearby the rubble were tense, but the 100 bats overhead worked to assure their safety. Ha ha ha, Zhuofan, there's nowhere for you to run. So stand still and await your death. Run. Raising an eyebrow, Zhuofan flicked his eyes at the beasts above and smiled. Yeah, there's nowhere to run now. And since none of you want to see me running, I will do just what you want and stay put. Stay and kill. Zhuofan spat through gnashed teeth, riveting his boundless killing intent on the two of them. The two shivered, and their hearts were struck by an odd sense of fear. The two found it hard to accept it. How can this be? Chapter 164 Discerning Field. Chapter 164 Discerning Field. Soul Suppression. It was an ability anyone with a powerful soul could use to put pressure on those weaker than him, until they could not even stand. Zhuofan didn't reach that far but was enough to instill fear in his enemies. This in turn caused them to feel shocked. Although both were body cultivators, they were nonetheless still focused on training their souls in preparation to enter the radiant stage. The best example was Huangpu Qingyun, who trained in Imperial Tyrant body art, refining his body with dragon power but also able to use dragon soul to refine his own soul. Their souls were strong, even for profound heaven experts like them. However, reality showed Zhuofan's soul exceeded theirs by so much that they felt fear. The only explanation was that this kid had the soul of a radiant stage expert. This thought crippled their hearts in fear. They stared dumbstruck at Zhuofan to such a degree that not even they could think it possible his cultivation was merely in the bone-tempering stage, yet could go toe-to-toe with a profound heaven expert and even have his soul in the radiant stage. Was such an outlandish coincidence even possible? Zhuofan picked up on their thinking and smirked. I believe thanks are in order. Without the rumbling bat wave's torment, I would have never have gotten such a timely chance at breaking through. The azure fire in his eyes died out and Huangpu Qingyun's heart seized with it. He felt a deep fear from the core of his being. That has to be it. The two were now certain Zhuofan just entered the radiant stage with his soul. His soul was indeed strong but not quite there yet to kill with intent alone. The reason for his still position before was because he was in the middle of advancing. This freak cannot be allowed to live. Yelling inside, Huangpu Qingyun signaled Fifth Elder with his eyes. Fifth Elder picked up on his decision, and got ready. They had to end him now, while they still had the chance. Or when he grasped how to kill with intent, it'd be too late. Bam! With no preamble, Huangpu Qingyun shot towards Zhuofan. His body lit up in a golden glow, and was preparing a punch. Fifth Elder also took out his hammer, aiming at Zhuofan's head. Zhuofan was suddenly overshadowed, as if a mountain was about to fall on him. Suddenly, in front of him was Huangpu Qingyun with his majestic fist, holding enough power to break mountains and cleave seas. In face of such devastating assault, Zhuofan was unfazed. Two azure glows flickered in his eyes and all he did was slant his head, and the might fist hit nothing but air. The golden light traced past his ear, blowing up a whole street of houses, yet powerless enough to not touch a single hair on Zhuofan's head. Regarding the incoming hammer, Zhuofan simply jumped and was out of its range. The hammer boomed into the ground, caving the earth for 20 meters around, yet only enough to reach Zhuofan's toes. He was barely standing at the edge, at peace, as if all was natural in the world. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder were nervous, going at him again, with a flurry of fists and a rain of hammer blows. There were so many blows. Each was so fast that it should have sealed any means of escape. However, Zhuofan lightly sidestepped around the attacks without even the use of mystifying phantom step. Simple footwork was enough to get him out of any and all danger. Throughout these 100 blows, Zhuofan had danced in but a 2-meter circle, while Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder were powerless to even ruffle his clothes. This spectacle was unheard of, much less seen, eliciting cries from the crowd. Two profound heaven experts were rendered moot in the face of a bone-tempering stage cultivator. They attacked 100 times but not once succeeded. Even if this was staged, it was not possible to have such uncanny accuracy. While it was impossible to make sense of it all, it was all so clear to Long Jiu and the rest. But they were all so shocked, so astonished, that they only stared bug-eyed for a long time. They were clear of this being a radiant stage cultivator's ability, the discerning field. Within its range, the user could detect the most minute change. It was also easy enough to detect an attack's course. This was the reason behind all his perfect evasions. While he was under a barrage of blows, his heart was as still as water. This brat had reached a whole new level of freak. That's a radiant stage's ability, yet used by a bone-tempering cultivator. Long Jiu was astonished, yet his heart was pained. How many elders of Veiled Dragon Pavilion worked their whole lives to reach the radiant stage, to feel its power for themselves, yet were unable to? Long Jiu was no exception, however. This up-and-coming Zhuofan, still wet behind his ears, beat them to it. It was a sense of defeat mixed with admiration that made it so hard to swallow. He saw Zhua as his brother, but he could not cast out all the envy he had. Why were they so different? Why couldn't he do it as well? Xie Tianyang sighed as well. By the looks of it, our little freak came out of his shell and became a full-fledged abomination. I wonder if he even has a limit. Will I ever be able to reach him? Haha, it doesn't look like it. Xie Tianyang shook his head in frustration. The other sighed and nodded back to the battle. Zhuofan skipped around calmly, escaping the enemy's range. The only thing off about him was the azure glint ever present in his eyes. Huangpu Qinyun and Fifth Elder were already panting. They could guess as to the reason as well, but knowing didn't enable them to solve it. Zhuofan, a bone-tempering cultivator, was armed with the Radiant Stage's discerning field, leaving them powerless to even land a glancing blow. You little prick, fight me if you dare. Come on, be a man for a change. Perhaps his mind was taxed, or his patience long overdrawn, that Fifth Elder started cursing Zhuofan. He was now regretting doing it, since two great profound heaven experts can't finish a mere bone-tempering cultivator. You're asking him to stand still? If this isn't ridiculous, then what is? You might as well ask him to tie himself up for you while he's at it. His words were met with profound disdain from the crowd. The 7 houses picking on others was a common occurrence, but never had they sunk so low. Humph. Now I know why Grandmaster Zhua killed you, geeky. That old coot was so insufferable that he couldn't take it any more. Hell Valley must be the most shameless of all 7 houses. Many whispers traveled, and none were good, holding some hint of scorn, whether open or otherwise. Huangpu Qinyun glared at the senile fool. If you want to disgrace yourself, fine. But don't go around dragging me into your mess. Just what is Hell Valley's requirement for elders these days? Shamelessness? Zhuofan only quirked an eyebrow and smiled a nod. I guess that's fine. Since I don't plan on going anywhere either, I suppose I might as well give you a sound defeat. You see this spot, I won't move from it. Zhuofan then planted his feet a tad deeper into the ground, his face filled with zest, just like in refining earlier. If my feet leave this spot, my head will be yours. SSS. The crowd gasped in fright. The heroism of Grandmaster Zhua is so unmatched it got to his head. There was nothing to fear while refining, since you had that amazing ancient secret refining art. It is all because of that you managed to keep your head. But this is another matter entirely. You, sir, a bone-tempering cultivator, although stronger than average, but is still a bone-tempering cultivator nonetheless. For the love of God, you are facing 2 shameless and despicable profound heaven experts head-on. They won't go easy on you just 'cause you're weaker. If you're still doing with all this into account, then it's your funeral. Huangpu Qinyun and Fifth Elder jerked but turned bewildered. You little prick, what are you playing at? Huangpu Qinyun eyed him cautiously, and the crowd rolled their big white eyes, with some close to spurting blood. Grandmaster Zhua is rooted to the spot, and all that's left is to tie him up. Yet, you fools are overthinking it, saying it's some sort of scheme of his? Humph, guess there's no frickin' relation between a man's nerve and his cultivation. A bone-tempering cultivator has more guts to face 2 profound heaven experts, while you 2 are more scared than a mouse. You don't get to see this every day. The people could no longer stand for how despicable they acted and scorned them despite being from the 7 houses. Huangpu Qingyun's face was aflame, finding his own words somewhat faint-hearted. But it was best to be safe rather than sorry in that punk's trap. Laughing, Zhuofan didn't even try hiding it. Of course I have one. But nothing overt, just something necessary. Zhuofan took out a bottle and snickered. Don't forget, I'm an alchemist. He popped the cork and a blue gleaming pill landed in his hand with a shake. 5th grade pill, bursting pill. Vicious pill, kings cried. And Huangpu Qingyun was also panicking as he flitted back tens of meters. He's gonna blow. The scene was thrown into chaos as people scampered all over the place for cover. They feared a bone-tempering cultivator's detonation would reach them. Long Jio's group was startled and perplexed. The situation wasn't that dire to warrant such an extreme decision as blowing himself up. To be truthful, the bursting pill was in fact only useful when one did detonate himself. The people looked at Zhuofan's calm face, still sporting that cryptic smile of his. Chapter 165 Dominatin. Chapter 165 Dominatin. 1, 2, 3 The pills fell in Zhuofan's hand with a light tap of the bottle. And with every fall of the azure gleaming pill, hearts were strung tighter than a fiddle. When 5 gathered in his palm, Zhuofan placed the bottle away. 5 pills ought to be the limit. 5! Vicious Pill King's eyelid twitched. A single bursting pill could increase one's yuan qi by 10 times. If the body couldn't take it, it would blow up from the strain. That explosion was also 10 times stronger than a simple self-detonation. Taking these pills would turn Zhuofan into a ticking time bomb. It increased his power 50 times, but the explosion would be no less than a profound heaven. Experts, the damage wouldn't be limited to this small area either, but the entire drifting flower city. It would be swept by the shockwave, razed to the ground. Vicious Pill King's heart shuddered as he shouted in fear, "Stop him, or he'll drag us all down with him." Too little, too late. Zhuofan swallowed the pills without hesitation. In a blink, the wind picked up, and a rumbling echoed under the frightened eyes of his audience. The space around Zhuofan warped. Something seemed to seep out of his body as well, looking akin to raw and physical yuan qi. His lightning wings had grown twice their size under constant changes. Zhuofan gnashed his teeth as sweat trickled down his brow. His fist clenched, his face grim from the unspeakable pain, but he held on to his voice, not letting even a grunt escape. Bam! His body shivered and his 2 arms exploded in size. His forehead sported the azure flame again, but this time bigger than before. The azure flame now burned hotter, his wings flickered with thunder, and his cold eyes were bloodshot. His twisted face as well looked ready to unleash a gruesome power. The people watched the advent of their death from afar, incredulous of how much power he had gotten. He rose steadily from the second layer of bone-tempering stage under the watchful eyes of Vicious Pill King and the rest. With constant anguish, the stronger he got, the more bang for his buck. If his control slipped while he powered up, the explosion would be less, but only by a fraction. But Zhuofan stubbornly hung on and his power soared. Huangpu Qingyun was appalled, but he was crying inside. What in God's name is this brat made of? How is he still holding it together? With a relieving sigh, just like a tornado, Zhuofan's power up reached the end. Yet, outside of everyone's expectation, there was no explosion. All they saw was a calm Zhuofan breathing in and out. That's Vicious Pill King's voice trembled. It's the profound heaven stage. The others could see the fierce aura around him and gasped. In just a few breaths, Zhuofan climbed from the second layer of bone-tempering stage all the way to the profound heaven stage. This is too astonishing. Huangpu Qingyun and the 5th elder's faces were grave. They knew now the pills weren't to off himself, but to increase his power. But how could a man accomplish such a feat? To the average man, a 10 times yuan qi increase would burst him like a balloon. But this brat withstood 5 times of that. Just how tough is he? Monster! Huangpu Qingyun couldn't help but voice it. The others also watched with shock and awe of Zhuofan's staunch body. Making a come-hither gesture at Huangpu Qingyun and 5th elder, Zhuofan mocked them with a smile. Didn't you want to fight? Well, come and get me. The audacity and scorn made Huangpu Qingyun and 5th elder burst with anger. This was the first time they were ever mocked this much. They shot at Zhuofan without words, and Huangpu Qingyun launched a golden fist right at his face. You little shit. If you have the nerve to taunt, then don't dodge, and take it like a man. Huangpu Qingyun was goading him, smirking. Zhuofan lifted his hand. There's no longer a need to dodge. Bam! Fists met, tearing up the air with a sharp explosion and making ears sting from it. The two Yuan Qi collided and spread like a tidal wave all around the pebbles and rocks around were pulverized under such raw, unbridled power the people were frantic in getting their Yuan Qi up to shield themselves, but some weak bone-tempering cultivators were flung 20 meters away and spat blood. The shock from a simple clash dominated their hearts. The fight was going to be intense, but then, their eyes widened. They watched in shock as Huangpu Qingyun's all-out attack was simply blocked by Zhuofan. The latter didn't even look to be trying. Suddenly, Fifth Elder entered the scene from behind, swinging that hammer right at his head. Dong. Screeching of metal on metal resounded and another shock wave sped away. The audience worked to withstand it, but dozens were flung into the air. Yet, when they looked up now, their eyes were twitching. Zhuofan's face was as calm as ever, to the point of ignoring the Fifth Elder completely and letting a wing lightly block the hammer. Zhuofan didn't even shudder from the blow. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder cried frantically, "Impossible! Nothing's impossible, especially when it comes to yours truly." Zhuofan gripped Huangpu Qingyun's fist and threw him. Huangpu Qingyun slammed into the ground, sinking inch by inch, not forgetting about the Fifth Elder either. His lightning wings slightly shook and the old man flew for 100 meters before hitting the ground. But even so, he had to take 6 more steps back to stabilize. Looking at Zhuofan now, the Fifth Elder was frightened. But his heart couldn't accept it and charged again. Zhuofan brushed his attempt off, only staring down at Huangpu Qingyun with sarcasm. "Second young master, remember when you talked to me about men and women? Then allow me to inform you that this time, only those standing are real men." It was naked humiliation. Huangpu Qingyun roared and swung at Zhuofan. He was Regent Estate's second young master. How dared someone insult him? Fifth Elder arrived as well, smashing with his hammer, but Zhuofan only laughed at their futile attempts. His body was refined with diamond sand into a 5th-grade demonic treasure. He couldn't take these two on earlier because his Yuan Qi was lacking in bringing about the body's true potential. Taking 5 bursting pill compensated for this, allowing him to use his demonic treasure body to its full capabilities. Adding to his radiant stage soul, how could these two even land a hit? Grinning, Zhuofan placed a hand behind him and only used his left to block everything and anything Huangpu Qingyun threw at him. At the same time, he used his wings to dance to Fifth Elder's hammering tune. Clangs and dings were heard constantly, as the power behind each swing was enough to pulverize anything around them. The sting from the explosions hurt the people's ears, but they were too dumbstruck to mind seeing how easily Zhuofan handled 2 profound heaven experts while standing still. Was hard to believe, even when seeing it themselves. What is wrong with this world? Since when did there exist a bone-tempering cultivator who is such a monster, capable of making profound heaven experts become his stepping stone? This is 2-on-1, and they can't even gain the upper hand. Worst, their opponent is taking it in stride. Despite their curses, they knew the truth. The profound heaven experts that laid in front of their eyes were in no way weak, but this bone-tempering youth was simply too much of a monster. Long Jiu's group was stupefied. A blink was all it took for Zhuofan's power to surpass everyone's imagination. Their minds couldn't cope with the impossible scene unfolding right before their eyes. The world flipped, the power scheme upturned, and a bone-tempering cultivator was playing with 2 profound heaven experts. Chu Qingqing and her overseers were bug-eyed. It was Iris Overseer who first recovered somewhat to gasp. Demon Zhuofan lives up to his infamy. The monster of all freak. Xie Tianyang felt like crying. 8th Elder, I should go find Elder Brother to train with my sword. I want to revive Sword Marquis's abode. There's no point in going after that brat. That dream is just wishful thinking. Jian Suifeng sighed as well. Ever since they saw Zhua, not only the juniors, but even the elders were suffering a serious blow to their self-esteem. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.